We marvel at the serenity of the forest and crave the shroud of its silence. So we're gonna start a new game. Excuse me, present. Everyone knows to stay away from the wilderness. Most people would never risk a lonely journey. Roadwardens not only accept this struggle, they embrace it. They deliver messages, assist merchants, burn human corpses, and, if possible, get rid of the beasts and highwaymen. They live on the road, die young or retire early. It's a dangerous job, but a respectable one, and it pays well. I leave the safety of the city walls. Please select the difficulty mode. This choice can't be altered later on. Wow. I may go casual on this. For those focused on the story, no time limit, more cash at the start, some quests are more forgiving. Standard for those familiar with RPGs, 40-day time limit, regular rule set. Restrictive for the returning Roadwardens, 30-day limit, increased nighttime damage. I actually take less damage at night. That's just a personal fact about me. I'm gonna go casual. That's the mood I'm in. I'm in a casual mood. Yeah, let's focus on the story. Replayability, indeed. So thank you again to the devs for the key to this game. I don't know if I said that yet. Thank you, devs, for the key. The wall is still standing. There are no wolves around, no stench of blood. Good signs. This should be the place you're looking for. You were supposed to meet with a group of soldiers, but you hear no voices, no sounds of labor. The gate is ajar, but the camp isn't safe. It may keep away the goblins and pebblers, but not beast folk, nor trolls. And the night is near. Your palfrey breathes heavily. It had a long day. Could just look for another shelter. I need to look around cautiously. I dismount and sneak to the gate. Let's peek inside. Let's dismount and sneak to the gate. Your heavy boots hit the ground, and the pain of the long ride finally catches up with you. You stretch out, bringing your back and legs comfort. All you want now is a table, a decent chair, a nice mug of beer, and some warm stew. Warm stew? With any luck, your axe won't be needed here. Take care of yourself. If you're hurt or exhausted, some actions won't be available to you. The weaker you are, the higher the chance you'll die in combat. Best kind of stew. I approach the gate slowly. I love the art style here. If it's a military camp, it doesn't look the part. Plenty of wasted space. The fire pit is cold. 2 people are sitting at the table, tired and disheartened. They're looking in different directions, paying no attention to one another. One of them is holding a cup. After a moment, you notice the quiet humming. You recognize the melody of a light-hearted drinking song from the city harbor. I could just look for another shelter. I need to look around cautiously. They don't look like much of a threat. I can enter. I'm going to stay cautious here. The people inside the camp didn't even notice the clatter of hooves. The short, dry grasses barely cover the arid soil of this valley, but you're maybe a minute away from the edge of the sparse woods, which get denser as they climb up the hills. At best, this trail has a few more years before getting overgrown for good. Hard to believe it's the only route north. Let's go ahead and enter. It takes them a few breaths to glance in your direction. The first person greets you with a wave of his hand. There are bags under his eyes. His beard is messy. Despite his simple shirt, he's wearing durable, decent boots. A mace with a head covered in iron hangs at his side, but he doesn't reach for it. I take a look at the second soul. Just like you, she's wearing a gambeson, but hers is a bit loose, as if she took it off a corpse. Her head is shaven, as if she's protecting herself from flesh-eating bugs. Her eyes are weary, yet kind. She smiles. Considering the squad was sent here half a year ago, these two surely look the part, though there should be more of them. 8, we believe. I let them speak first. It's nice to see an unarmed traveler in this godforsaken shithole. Makes me just a tiny bit hopeful. The bearded man's voice is strong, yet timid. You'll be staying the night with us, I guess. We're soldiers, he and I, adds the armored woman. Her moment switches from half asleep to relaxed. I wonder if that's supposed to be movement? We'll do our best to keep the camp safe, but if you were to take the first watch, it would be a huge help. Travelers ought to help each other, wouldn't you say? You think for a moment. To fully rest, you'd need a good sleep. Yeah. I mean, we're in pretty good shape. We feel well. Sure, leave it to me. Fantastic. She rubs her hands together. I don't remember the last time I had more than half a night of sleep. The hours before midnight should be the calmest. Just wake us up if anything happens. The man flashes you a wide smile. It's easy to wake us up. Just yell. He drinks from his mug. I ask them about their lieutenant. You wonder how to phrase your question. Whenever you meet new people, you can influence how they perceive you by selecting one of the attitudes. Friendly. Be supportive and cordial. Playful. Use a joke or a witty comment. Distanced. Hide your emotions. Intimidating. Hint at a threat. Vulnerable. Be sad, tired, afraid, or hopeless. Let's be friendly. I was hoping to meet with your lieutenant. Could we talk for a bit? The woman lets out a loud sigh, dusts off her gambeson, and steps toward you. She pays little attention to the sword at her side. We most definitely can, you and I, though holding this rank is still somewhat new to me. Are you a messenger? Did you lose your mount? She observes you with curiosity. Or are you looking for help? I'm your new Roadwarden. My horse is waiting outside. Really? The soldier in his shirt leans forward. That explains how you got here in one piece, all by yourself. Better bring your beast here, adds the lieutenant. We have no hay, but I bet it dreams of dropping its saddle. A long pause. I'm Tulia, by the way. She reaches out her hand. I shake her hand. It may be a trap. I gesture for her to stop, pretending to be embarrassed. I should wash myself first, but you can call me. I'll shake her hand. Oh, God. So the default name is Leto, which is, I can only assume, a reference to June. I can't stand that dude, personally. I mean, I have to go with the Dune reference, right? Her grasp is confident, the shake is slight. Just keep your horse away from the tents. She steps away. We don't need to smell its dung. There's this one issue. The soldier in the shirt also rises to his feet. We've no tent to spare. You'll have to use a blanket or something. No problem. I enjoy observing the stars. You walk through the gate. Your mount looks around and snorts anxiously. Not many humans could ride a horse. It's not only taller than you, but also bulky, as heavy as it is strong. You can get in the saddle within a single breath, but most people wouldn't know where to even begin. From every side, it's a wall of flesh. Horses were brought to the Dragon Woods from the conquests in the south. They can trot for a long time, but won't outrun some of the local monsters. Your palfrey needs you to survive, but without it, you too would be lost. Yeah, but Jill, as I'm learning in like the 5th book, which I'm like halfway through now, they still kind of live forever. It's my only companion here. I want it to feel at ease. It's not an it, my friend. I don't care how it feels, but I need it to be strong. I want to travel and I can't. We're going to say that. It takes a few steps toward you, scolding you with another snort. You scratch the bottom of its neck with strength and confidence, just the way it likes it. Humans see useful animals and even pets as monsters in disguise. Getting emotionally attached to them is believed to lead humans to their doom. But you know that horses need companionship. I speak to it gently and lead it to the camp. I think they're just, like, as the game went on to say there, I think they're pretty new. You end up next to the fire pit. Removing the saddle makes the horse nicker with relief. You take a couple of minutes to examine its back, just in case. While the riding equipment is not that heavy for such a strong animal, with enough time it starts to chafe. You wish it had something better to eat than this shabby grass. You should look for an inn. I need to unpack. You haven't brought that many things, and you lost one of the sacks while fleeing the Crimson Corpse Eaters. Worst of all, you have no rope left, but maybe the soldiers could share one. Shouldn't cost more than a dragon bone. Aside from the travel set, you own a few valuable possessions essential for your trade. Oh, so we like pick our class here by what we have with us? Jess, thank you for the 11 months. Thank you very much, Jess. It's really nice to see you. I hope that you've been well. It was good speaking with you the other night as well. So we're gonna pick a... Lane is here. Hello, Lane. Very nice to see you, Lane. So we're gonna pick our specialty, I suppose. Fighter. I spent my savings on decent combat equipment. I have a fine gambeson, an axe made of steel, and a reliable crossbow with quarrels. Mage. I have talismans that help me use my powers, as well as an iron axe and a worn gambeson. Or scholar. I carry writing instruments and alchemical ingredients, as well as an iron axe, a worn gambeson, and a healing potion. I want to learn more about the three classes. Hello, Cades. As a fighter, you'll have an easier time in physical challenges, thanks to your superior equipment and hidden bonuses during dice rolls. You'll be physically more capable than the other classes, what opens unique opportunities. Maybe that opens unique opportunities during some social interactions. It's the best class for RPG beginners. The fighter's weakness is their reliance on physical strength. Your special abilities won't be available to you if your vitality points drop to 0. The mage uses Pneuma, a versatile but limited pool of energy points that can be spent to cast a few humble spells. Magic won't protect you better than a sharp axe, but as a mage, you'll be able to heal faster while resting, detect magic in a mysterious area, distract a beast with a simple trick, and find a common tongue with other magic users. Using the mage's powers too freely will result in having no Pneuma left when you need it the most. The scholar will know more about the world's mysteries than you, helping you take advantage of some unusual situations. Your character will impress the locals with its knowledge, and you'll be able to read the sparse written clues without anyone's assistance. Scholars struggle with combat more than the other classes, but with enough carefulness and exploration, you'll gain access to alchemical mixtures that will help you escape from many dangerous situations. I'm leaning towards mage, but I'm curious what other people might think. Mage sounds like a fun, like, intermediary. Because we'll still be able to fight a little bit. And like spells sound like they could be kind of cool, whereas being a fighter, it seems like it would be a bit more one-dimensional, and I guess sort of I feel the same way about the scholar. I was thinking that too, Skanda. Yeah, I imagine there's people who like play on hard and pick Scholar and just like destroy the game. Let's try Mage. So now we have an inventory to see our possessions. You unpack and inspect your belongings. Your water skin isn't pierced. The spare clothes are still here, just in case. You take a look at your wooden bowl and mug, your cape, tinderbox, bandages, food rations, knife. Nothing special or too cumbersome. From time to time, your routine helps you avoid mistakes, but this doesn't make it any more exciting. Unless you're occupied with another task, you can eat food, drink potions, and use your items from this menu. You can examine your possessions at all times. So we can look at all times, but we can't always use, I think. Merchandise. The city artisans make coins by cutting dragon bones into slices. They are valued by merchants, though rarely used in the countryside. A padded defensive jacket made of linen filled with rags. It's the cheapest type of armor, yet surprisingly effective, and as a result, very common. Magical amulets. Magic is unreliable, so you spend a sack of coins to collect a couple of enhancing amulets. They help you focus your pneuma in ways that you don't quite understand. The travel set. Your sacks contain all sorts of useful tools. And our simple battle axe. Traveling with an axe shows that you've learned how to fight humans and human-sized monsters. It's not masterfully made, but it's already been put to test, and you've practiced with it for many days. Rag Mage, or Rage Mage. They're at the table again, observing your beast and chatting between themselves. Your stomach growls at the sight of them eating out of wooden bowls. One more bowl was put at a previously unused end at the table. You can sit down on a tree log. I join them and take a look at the meal. I thank them for the meal, but I don't want to eat with them. I sit down and ask Tulia what she can tell me about this area. I completely ignore the meal. Why wouldn't we eat, I guess? It's cold gruel, the meal eaten in times of hardship. This specific bowl is filled with water, hog millet, some strange-looking cereals, and blueberries. Welcoming you with a meal, even a humble one, is beyond their duty. Soldiers live with and for their companions, constantly on the move from one part of the realm to another, making sacrifices to protect their group as they face dozens of hideous creatures. Their lives are filled with discipline, hardship, and camaraderie. Roadwardens, on the other hand, learn how to work by themselves. They seldom engage in open combat, patrolling the same roads for years. They help the settlement stay in touch, but also maintain commerce, settle down, forge friendships. When there are no laws to follow, they use their own judgment. Different responsibilities, different lifestyles. No more Cocoa Puffs. I eat quickly, not focusing on the taste, then speak with Tulia. She's focused and chooses her words carefully. She looks away only when she gathers her thoughts. I'm afraid I can tell you less than I would like to and less than I should. She nods toward the other soldier. As you can see, there's not a lot of us left. At the beginning of summer, there were 8 of us, including our previous lieutenant. 5 are dead. 1 has run away in tears. We are also strangers in this land, adds her companion. Any piece of information may help me do my job. The man leans forward. His legs shake nervously. He sounds like a kid asking a bard to sing one more story, tell a joke, or do a magic trick. Whatever it takes to escape from boredom. His untrimmed beard hides a much younger face than you originally thought. What did the officials tell you? I expect not that much. No soul governs these lands. I share what I consider to be relevant, or what I've discussed with the officials should stay between me and them. Yes, I did join in. I'm not proud of it. I share what I consider to be relevant. You tell the soldiers how little guidance you've received since this area is too far away from Havlavan to keep it under control. You are warned that it's untamed and unknown. Who knows how many villages, bandits, or monsters may be found in these unmapped hills and forests. From time to time, new people come here to look for boundless opportunities. Most of them never return. Do they turn into walking corpses, or find what they're looking for. No soul could tell me, so I was looking for your guidance. The lieutenant drinks from her cup and crosses her legs, ankle on knee. Seeing her chair makes you doubt she'll ever find a comfortable position. Where should we start? So we'll probably just ask all of these, I imagine. Is this my hunger? Nourishment. Okay. What should I know about the peninsula? I'll tell you what I know, and you'll be the judge, says the lieutenant. How long did it take you to get here from the city? On a decent palfrey, I'd guess it would be 3, 4 days. When you confirm, she continues, from here you can reach the coast in about a day, as long as you don't make any stops. Do you know the situation? Why no ships can get here? You nod. The sea route allows Havlavan officials to keep in touch with the coastal villages, collect taxes, move the soldiers, collect lumber, deliver tools. But maintaining order on a wild coast such as this one is like filling the ocean depths with coins. Because of the rocks, you can hardly stop a ship 5 miles from the shore, and boats can't get much closer. She nods. I don't know much about fishing, but there's not that many people living by the shore, and they don't crave to stay in touch with the city folk. As she pauses, her companion carries on. No soul from the north ever came to the camp, but when we travel to the roadside inn, Pelt of the North, they're happy to trade, and to play dice. Why not just stay at one of the settlements? The man clears his throat. I mean, you know, we're to guard this road. This camp is our post, and, well, he turns towards Tulia. She lowers her voice. Don't take it the wrong way, Leto. But are you a devout soul? I don't know what the fuck that means. High 2.75. Like most city folk, I believe that people should unite their strength to overcome the threats of nature and dark magic. Everyone will be judged for both good and evil deeds. I'm a part of the United Church. No. For many years, I've supported a monastery that does its best to advance mankind's spiritual growth, artistry, herbalism, and magical research. I follow the teachings of an order of truth. I'm from a small village. For me, the freedom of shell, pneuma, and soul are the main virtues of life. My community is unique and independent, and so are its members. I have a place in my fellowship. I have a strong connection to nature and spirits and follow the path of my ancestors. Some of my beliefs may be considered sinister and treacherous by the city folk. You'd probably call me a pagan. I think we've found our contending answer here. Jess, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I'll be ready to talk about this a little bit more, I think, next week. But there might be some movement in that direction for me, finally, after literal years of no progress. Wow, my coffee's gone cold. Thank you for the skill hypes and the chill hypes and the shocked faces. There's no evidence of the right's existence, and all the mystical tales are explained by magic. No, I'm not. So do we want to be a pagan, or do we want to be essentially like an atheist? I personally am an atheist, but I don't need to like role play. What is this? Is it time? Oh, that's cool. That's like the sky. First I thought it was like a down arrow. Maybe it is. Let's be a pagan. A pagan Roadwarden. The man scratches his head without the slightest subtlety. Now, I'm sure we can have a conversation. We're civilized people. The lieutenant clears her throat. I'm from the United Church, but I'm not a priest or anything, and definitely not a zealot. An awkward pause. The United Church has spilled the blood of countless pagan tribes, making it clear that who's not with them is against them. Your family shared gruesome stories about the atrocities committed by the priests against your ancestors. Sure, I'm not looking for squabbles. The people here are disquieting. Every few words, she taps the table with her finger. Their traditions won't help them negotiate with the officials. Here, she starts to draw lines with her index finger as if she's pointing at an invisible map. The peninsula is connected with roads, like a big circle. In the northwest, you'll find a weird village at a bog. It's not exactly pagan, I don't think. It even has a priest who claims to be an eremite. You nod. She means a fellowship. They do crazy shit, her companion chips in. They use the dead to cut down the trees and dig in soil. Once I saw it, I begged to never return there. I see. You've heard tales such as this one since you were a child, and if an isolated settlement manages to survive without a city's influence, its customs and traditions grow more and more alien. Every generation learns how to adapt to the dangerous conditions they have to deal with, and the rustic pagan traditions muddy their river of faith. The United Church often warns its members about the crazy druids, necromancers, and blood mages, the bringers of doom, the traitors to humankind. No worries, Jess. Have a good lurk. Were you able to speak with these necromancers? And how about the East? Any monster worth mentioning? Anything that could catch my mount? That's all I need to know. Gothical is here. Hello, Goth. Very nice to see you. How are you feeling? How's the family? Let's ask about any monsters. We saw all sorts of beasts. The man starts to count on his fingers. Goblins, treants, cats, large and small, runners, howlers, wolves, spiked boars, mouflon eaters, griffins, but we managed to stay away. Some could catch up with most mounts, Tulia glances at her companion, though a palfrey should be fine. The trees are so tall that the flying creatures keep to the coast and mountains. There's not that many humans around, and the animals are busy fighting among themselves. They fight more for food than territory. The soldier cracks his knuckles. Don't provoke them and ride fast. Just count on luck. Do you want to hang out with them? Yeah, they sound cool. Little man never stops eating. That's fantastic. It's so good to see you, Goff. I really hope that you're doing well. I hope Graham is well, of course, also. Were you able to speak with these necromancers? You can see why we were not eager to go there if we would avoid it, the lieutenant chuckles. Maybe they'll be more welcoming to our Roadwarden. The roads are dangerous, with little to no shelters. People need your help. The man in the shirt turns a bit and points a finger to the northwest. If you're heading to the undead village, you'll get to an inn first, and soon. Tulia nods. Pelt of the North is a safe place. You can talk with the innkeep or the guards. Ask them about the road. Rachel is here. Oh, Rachel, thank you very much for the 20 months. Love you too, friend. I hope that you are having a good night. Thank you for being here. It's really good to see you. Some Velo Reach. I loved Velo Reach. Velo Reach and Velo ODST were my favorites. Nagy is here, the one and only Nagy. Hello, Nagy. Welcome in, dude. It's very nice to see you as well. I was having a lot of fun. I wish I could have hung out longer for your movie discussion with Zerbeck, but I had to go to work. But that was a really cool... I really like that you do that. The movie streams where you discuss. And you describe it really well. Like, I feel like I watched the movie with you, you know? You have a gift, my friend. And how about the East? She stares off across the camp. Hard to tell. We went there only once. There are hills, forests, rivers. We saw a tunnel sculpted in leaves and branches, but we didn't enter it. Wilderness all around. That's all I need to know. She nods. I'm afraid we can't do more for you. Let's see what else. Any ideas what happened to the previous Roadwarden? Tulia takes a deep breath. Aren't you a bit late for a rescue mission? We haven't heard from him in almost half a year. The soldiers speak for a bit between themselves, trying to get their story straight. They confirm that he had stopped by their camp a few times, but stopped showing up at all in early summer. The bearded soldier starts to scratch the table with the tip of his knife, without looking at you. I don't remember his voice. Always busy, drowning in things to take care of, he would sit somewhere, sharpen his sword, fix his loud mail, clean clothes, write notes on that wax tablet of his. Yep, and leave at dawn. Unlike us, a Styrian never gets bored. That's another very loaded name, isn't it? Tulia lets out a joyless chuckle. He's secretive, but some of the locals speak about him warmly. Maybe he just doesn't like us. Exactly, Lane, absolutely. Sounds like you're not sure if he's dead or not. If anyone knows, they won't tell us. Maybe someone is keeping him in a basement. The man carves with passion. We haven't seen him, or his Saurian. Something ate them, I bet. The officials have hired you, right? They don't expect him to return. Richer Roadwardens often use four-legged meat-eating Saurians as their mounts. They have to be tamed and trained since they're hatching, but unlike horses, can easily defend themselves from many monsters. At least your palfrey is fast and reliable, and won't suddenly sink its teeth into an innocent passerby. That's a plus, I would say. Yeah, the music's chill. Like, it's looping, but it's a longer loop than, say, Strange Horticulture had, that's for sure. I'm hoping that when we go to another area, we might get more music, but this is the music that has been playing since the main menu. Medieval stoner rock is exactly what it is, Lane, and I like it even more now. Do you know what he's looking for? Maybe he left you a message. Neither one of us had any insight into his dealings, says Tulia. My predecessor left me no clues. We also took a look at Asterian's stuff. Wait, she raises her open palm. I almost forgot. She stands up and heads to a nearby tent. He has kids in a village near Havlavan. I was planning to take all his things there. A pouch, a second spear, a decent bow, some potions. Quite a treasure, she glances at you. But I would much prefer to bring them the truth about their father. So you want me to find out what happened to him in exchange for his stuff. Here's the catch. She dusts off the hilt of her sword. We've hired a messenger to ask the commanders for further orders. Since she hasn't returned and you know nothing about her, she either ran away or something happened to her. She sighs with resignation. We are meant to stay here until fall. What do you think? Come see us, tell us what you've learned about the man, and we'll get back to Havlavan together. You think about your real mission. You were planning to return to Havlavan in the early fall anyway. If he's alive, I don't think he's going to be happy about me taking away all of his possessions. True, but he's considered dead. I doubt he'd begrudge you anything, and who knows, you may just find his shell lying on the roadside tomorrow. He wears mail, uses a spear, mostly, maybe 5 feet tall, but stout, long red beard, short hair, pale face, rarely smiles. She glances at her companion, but after he adds nothing, she sits down and stretches out her legs. So find out what happened to him. Dead, alive, left? Just let me know. Oh, interesting, Jill. I'll see if there's an update. The excavation of Hobbs Barrow. That sounds familiar. Terrifying stuff. Okay, cool. So I wonder if, like, we didn't choose that dialogue option, if we wouldn't have gotten this little side quest. Oh, I haven't seen any of Johnny's stuff in a long time. I used to really like him. I just wanted to say again very quickly, thank you to the devs for providing a key to this game. I'm enjoying it a lot so far. I've lost my robe. Could you spare one? You're in luck. She heads toward one of the crates and moves aside a large linen sack, revealing a rope. She brings it back and nonchalantly sits down on her chair. Take it. I was planning to leave it behind. I take a closer look. A fine rope. Is that a... This feels like a Boondock Saints reference to me. I don't know why. It's a fine rope. A regular rope made of hemp fibers. I take it and offer some food in return. Tulia leans forward and rests her forearms on her thighs, looking down with clasped hands, then meets your eyes. I'd normally refuse, but we need some decent food. Every day I'm searching through our groats, looking for worms and putridity. We forage, but it's not a great spot. Some food rations will brighten up a foggy day. For now, you leave the rope on the table. What happened to your squad? The man shrugs. Bandits happened. And monsters. A strong band, though, his companion chips in. When we got to the peninsula in spring, we saw some people living in this camp. The lieutenant decided to avoid it and look for an inn. We had to travel through the night for a bit. The bearded soldier scoffs and crosses his arms, but she carries on. If he had decided otherwise, we would have all died that day. The innkeeper explained that the camp is a trap, that the armed ones pretend to be soldiers. Stay there at night, lose everything you have. Sounds like slave hunters. Tulia sighs, very much so. They killed some and took others away, who knows where. They were letting the northerners go, hoping to avoid their wrath. It kind of worked, adds the soldier. We asked them for help, but they refused. We had to clear the entire camp on our own, and that's why three of our people died. Don't exaggerate. It's not like the lieutenant didn't make a mistake. He wanted to get rid of them and take over their camp, but we didn't know our enemy well enough. We were outnumbered, and they had an ice mage among them. She looks at you. At least we cleared the road. Saved lives. You mentioned monsters as well. Nothing that would surprise you. Those of us who survived the skirmish were young, too inexperienced to spend a summer in this place without a good leader, and they didn't trust me. One of them got caught by a treant. Another one ignored my orders to perform some sort of ritual hunt, so a werebear tore her to pieces. The last one tried to act tough, didn't tell us that he had cut his hand while cleaning his gambeson. She lets out a ghastly chuckle. We had to cut it off, and he was so ashamed that he decided to walk north, find a new life, disappear. Idiot. What a colorful journey. The man tries to drink from his mug, but it's empty. You've made this place safer. Barely. Tulia seems tired, and who knows if it was worth the lives and effort. Hey Zerbeck, welcome in, man. It's good to see you. I was just saying a moment ago how much I was enjoying your and Nagy's discussion the other morning. Tulia, how did you become a lieutenant? That's not much of a story, honestly. She looks at her hand, which is currently rolling a mug over the table. In the cities, there's a strict order of... what should I call it? She exchanges looks with her companion, but he can't help her. Well, leadership succession, I guess. Havlavan chief selects commanders. Those select lieutenants, and those put their soldiers in order of priority. If a lieutenant dies, they get replaced by the next soldier in line. So you were his successor? Not exactly. When we fought the bandits, our lieutenant was hit by a slingshot. His boyfriend jumped to help him, but failed to protect either of them from a spell. It was like a ball of ice that hung above them and exploded, piercing their heads, completely avoiding their shield. Really unpleasant. She pauses. And you were the third one in line, is that right? Jumping like that to save a man in the middle of an attack doesn't sound like a wise decision. You were third in line. Basically, yeah, she says, without enthusiasm. I didn't plan to become a leader, though. I'll get demoted once we return to the city. I prefer to follow, anyway. What was your squad's mission? The lieutenant looks into your eyes. You know, the usual, making the roads safe, keeping people alive. I explain that it may be important for me to know what they have tried to accomplish. I can't really tell you. Let's just say it would be nice to have a reliable outpost somewhere nearby. A place where you can always find a group of fighters willing to protect you in the name of the law. She tilts her head back. Now, if you have any other questions. Anything I should know about this camp? The story is brief. Some merchants built the camp to have an extra stop for mules and donkeys, just between the inn and the southern villages. There's plenty of grass here, and a pond nearby. When the peninsula grew more dangerous, the camp stood abandoned from time to time, serving as a shelter for travelers. The bandits came here in spring, further paralyzing the exchange of information between the northern and southern settlements. Since these highwaymen are no more, the situation may reverse. Time will tell. You can sleep here wherever you want, the man concludes their tale, though don't expect to wake up without a pain in your back. If you were me, where would you go next? The soldier answers quickly. To the inn, of course. He grabs his empty mug. The one northwest from here. If you can't afford the room, the main hall is free of charge. The number of legs, I think. Pushes up glasses. The locals rarely gather there. The northern road is much more traveled, mentions Tulia, but the hunters will tell you about this and that, and you'll have a chance to introduce yourself. The innkeeper can listen, and knows many souls. Seriously, Jill. Any tips on how I can make a good first impression on him? She smirks. Avoid cheap jokes. Stick to trade. Don't waste his time. Show him that you can be relied on. That's good to know. It's getting late. We should prepare for the night. I agree, Tulia sighs with relief. And you may do better than Asterion did. Stay vigilant, she winks at you, shattering the mask of a soldier. Thank you for your help. Open the archive to reread the most recent text. Oh, that's cool, okay. Avoid cheap jokes. Well, I'm out. You go to the barrel and splash water on your face, which makes you even more aware of how much you need a bath. After the night, it will only get worse. Your horse is already napping, still too anxious to lay down. I prepare for my watch. Only every day. The soldier in the shirt is eager to guide you. Just observe the area. There's plenty of griffins around, though they won't try to jump over the palisade. Probably. Better watch out for the apes. They climb up and carry out any food they can find. And there's this one really loud were-elk that keeps smelling the wall, though it has never tried to get in. He points at a gate. The lieutenant and I will block the entrances. They're quite heavy, so if anyone comes here looking for shelter, better call us to help you out. And if this someone is being chased by wolves or anything, better throw them the rope instead. He scratches his head. If it gets cold, feel free to make a fire. And the best place is on the watchtower. You may want to put a blanket up there or something. The watchtower? He gives you a long, puzzled look. Oh, here. He points at the pile of crates. Just climb up to the tallest one. You'll have a great view at the northern side, the more dangerous side. And also, I know you're tired after all that riding. He points at the tent on the other side of the camp. I can handle a couple of hours sleeping on the ground. If you wish, go there after me and rest. Just this once. At least I have a pallet inside. I smile. Thanks a lot. Ooh. I really like that. You put your blanket on the tallest crate and sit down. The night is warm, but the sporadic summer breeze brings gentle refreshment. From time to time, your back aches. You have to force yourself to keep your eyes open. The light of the moon helps you focus on the tall grasses. For most of the time, you spot smaller critters and birds, but there are exceptions. At one point, you see 3 horned deer trying to challenge one another. Before they clash their antlers, a 2-legged dragonling appears, leading its much smaller offspring. The furry beasts try to intimidate the predators with roars and aggressive head movements. After a few moments, both sides walk away slowly, not willing to risk the fight, nor to admit their defeat. I don't let it distract me. I keep looking around. You hear the death screams of distant prey and the mating calls of monkeys. Runners are chasing a gray hare. A group of musk oxen lazily chew the grass, preparing themselves to sleep. A dusk fox is running together with a lynx, making playful screeches. Thankfully, you never have to intervene. You just sit there, watching the not-so-distant forest, trying to outlast your sleepiness. You can only guess how much time has passed. Once you feel you've had enough, you climb down and go to a tent. Waking up the bearded man with just a couple of words, you confirm that nothing important has happened. I gather my things and squeeze into the tent. I use my bag as a pillow, put my blanket on the pallet, and cover myself with my cloak. Sleeping in a tent is not the stuff of dreams, but it's a much welcomed rest. The pallet keeps the cold soil away. The moonlight saves the outside world from the eerie gloom. You listen to your own breath and find a comfortable position. Your job starts tomorrow. Hey, Cass, thanks for being here. I hope work is going okay. It's nice to see you. Hope that you're well also. I focus on the real goal of my journey. The Merchant Guild wants to take control of this realm. Your wardening duties are secondary. First and foremost, you need to explore the peninsula. Learn about the territory, resources, and threats. Get to know the locals, and if you can, convince them to consider negotiations with Avlavon, officials, and traders. Could the tribes resist the soldiers or be a threat to the priests of the United Church? Are there any forbidden practices that need to be eradicated, such as blood magic, necromancy, robbery, or slavery? At least I have time. I need to be as thorough as I can. Once you finish your reconnaissance, you should speak with Tulia and return to Havlavon. There, you'll report back to your employers and get your reward. In the meantime, you have your own goal to pursue. So, I need to gather some extra coins so I can help a person I care about. I need to gather some extra coins so I can retire early and live in prosperity and safety. If I gather enough connections among the local leaders, I'll use them to become a major player in the Merchant Guild. I want to be remembered as the soul who brought peace and order to this realm, a hero. I just want to help people, make this region safer for the locals and the newcomers alike. I need to find a new life for myself. I have a difficult past, and I want it to be forgotten. Yeah, Elaine, that one doesn't jump out to me either. I kind of feel like either the first one or the last one. Jess, this is my first as well. I don't know how you do it. Mobile heroes. I need to gather some extra coins so I can help a person I care about, or I need to find a new life for myself. I have a difficult past and I want it to be forgotten. That was Carla, sorry. No, that was not in-game. That was just Carla. Fearsome. When you squeeze it, it goes, Carla does do slight growls, actually. Very slight little growls. Like huffs. Thank you, Lenny. She does do little grumbles. She can be a bit grumpy sometimes. I'm kind of leaning towards this one. I don't really want it to be about money. There she goes again. Squirrels can make some crazy sounds. I need to find a new life for myself. I have a difficult past and I want it to be forgotten. You can't travel during the night. Press the sleep button to rest. Your half-asleep senses are catching the sounds of the wild forest. Your instincts keep you alert and anxious, though the pleasant, humid, late summer air evens it out slowly. You're thinking about your goal, but you need to gather your strength. Carla would probably rely heavily on ranged attacks, although she can do a hell of a kick. Kicks and nibbles. All I can do now is rest. Sleeping in a tent. You can spend the night in a borrowed tent. It's nothing special, but it will protect you from the wind and rain, and the ground won't be painfully hard or cold. Okay, let's sleep. Like the forest cats, exactly. Exactly. High stagger, indeed. You take a look at your amulets. For most people, they would be nothing more than trash, but you wouldn't sell them for a pouch of dragon bones. You use them to shape Numa to your will. With these little mementos, the few spells you're familiar with are far more reliable. Who knows? Maybe there's already some power held in them. You look at the old, though clean bandages that remember dozens of herbal balms and wounds. You can put them on your hurting muscles, bruises, and scratches, then hum an old song about time, which either heals all wounds or kills us too soon to let us bother with our problems. After a few hours or so, the linen will warm up, confirming it did its job. This tent may not be much, but your spell would make you feel as good as new, though you'd lose some of your energy. I don't need to restore my Numa tonight. I performed the ritual. Cost of 2. And we'd only have 1. I'd rather keep my soul stronger than my shell. You're woken up by sunlight, well rested and ready. Without haste, you gather your things. After only a couple of breaths, you notice a weird smell, like a roast. No, burning meat, burning, rotten meat. Disgust crawls into your consciousness. You exit the tent. Your horse is looking around nervously. Your bags are where you had left them. You see an open gate. I go outside to see what's happening. Brooksy is here. Never interrupting, Brooksy. Thank you for the 17-month resub. It is very nice to see you. I hope that you're doing alright. I hope work's going well. I hope you're feeling good. Thank you for being here, man. Thank you for the 17 months. Exactly, Stu. I feel like there's been a couple that have been ready to proc for a couple weeks now. Great to have you here, Brooksy. Thank you again, man. Both soldiers are standing near a humble pyre. The man in the shirt looks at it contemplatively. Excuse me. Tuli is the first one to address you. Leto, she greets you with a nod. We use the horse's manure for the flames, so don't worry about cleaning it up. You see a corpse among the flames. It's impossible to tell if it belongs to a male or female, but it was an adult. The burning process won't be over for a couple more hours. I agree, Jess. It's very chill. A traveler or an undead? The latter. A young one. She lacked the pneuma to understand that she couldn't get inside the camp without climbing. I stabbed her with a spear from a safe distance. She shifts her weight. One more fog and she'd be a real threat. Even now, it took a couple of hits to knock her down. Sooner or later, every human shell wakes up, gaining more strength with each soul it devours and each moment it spends in the fogs. Burning the dead is not just a religious practice, it's a necessity. Soldiers, priests, village mayors, even road wardens. Making a large pyre takes a lot of time, but it saves lives. Tulia calls this undead a she. Most unites hesitate to do so. The three, easily my favorite gender. Eventually. Time for me to leave. Running away from the reek, huh? I don't blame you. She walks with you for a few steps. Find us here if you need us, or if you learn what happened to Asterion. There's enough ground here for you to rest. Safe travels. These words make you stop, an old farewell mocked in a number of songs and tales, but you hear no scorn in Tulia's voice. You wonder how many acts of kindness like this one you're going to experience in the days to follow. She returns to the pyre. I prepare myself for the journey. Use the travel button to see the map and move to another area. No, book burnings are horrifying. I don't care what the book is. It's not a good look for society. You somehow miss the fact that your mount is already saddled and warmed up. You double-check the equipment, but you don't need to fix anything. The soldiers were diligent. Normally, preparing any palfrey for a long journey takes a lot of time. You put on your gambeson and make sure that your axe is tightly attached to your belt, then get in the saddle. The palfrey nickers ready to leave. It's time for you to get to the crossroads, north from here. We need to ride north, so let's travel. So we haven't used this screen yet. Travel forward to continue your journey. Once you're done with the north, speak with Tulia to return to Havlavan. Travel north. Even at a later hour, you wouldn't expect to meet any travelers in the valley. The warm summer breeze lures your mount forward, but the serene chirping of birds is quickly replaced by the distracting screeches and gurgles coming from further down the path. You soon find the pack of four-legged griffins. They're larger than foxes and merge the features of birds with furred beasts. Each one is of a different size, coat, and colors, and their temperaments are just as varied. Their fronts are covered with vivid feathers, while their rears have darker fur. Their wings are massive, making them impressive jumpers, but they're too heavy to fly. About 24 beasts are yelling, brawling, and chasing each other around, blocking your path. Consider my options. The dice icon marks the actions that involve a random chance. You can't enter the forest blindly. If these or other creatures were to chase after you, the thicket would be disastrous for your horse. There are reasons why travelers stay as close to the main roads as possible, and why adventurers move in groups. Usually, the safest approach would be to stay where you are and just wait for the pack to get hungry. It may, however, take up to a couple of hours. You're thinking about your conversation with Tulia. You've got a lot to do, and time may be of the essence. If you have enough Pneuma, you can cast spells to access unique interactions, which we do. That would be amazing, Jess. Can I be a narrator? Appearance 1 of 5. People are hesitant to trust you. Your face is dirty. All right. Nourishment 1 of 4. You won't restore health while sleeping or resting. Vitality 3 of 4. You feel well. Armor 2 of 4. It will stop lighter attacks, but not for long. Carla is being an absolute coconut. She keeps running circles around me. Are you being a bun? Yes. Carla has a surprisingly deep voice. It's like Totoro. Yeah. How about a nap? She's in the club. Oh, I like that lore, Jess. I take my axe and hurry the horse. If we ride fast enough, we should be fine. I should stay here, better safe than sorry. Let's consider a spell. I grab an amulet and shape a missile of light. A harmless flare will frighten them off. Costs 1 Pneuma. Let's do that. You can learn more about your character's abilities in the character sheet. You grab one of your oldest amulets, a pendant made of leather and a single dim pearl. The little sphere is covered by cryptic engravings, but if there's any special meaning behind them, you were never able to find out what it could be. Holding the pearl between your fingers, you feel the pleasant, familiar warmth. The spell you are about to cast is not much more than a mere illusion, but you take a couple of breaths, trying to minimize any risk of failure. The pneuma leaves your shell, formed into a white ball that you barely comprehend. When it falls next to the griffins, for a couple of blinks it emits dazzling light. The animals squeak and snarl, fleeing in multiple directions at once. The road is now clear. Corned. I agree, Jill. I ride forward and enjoy the touch of my pendant. It cools down slowly. That's pretty cool. Achievement unlocked, the new adventure. Keep track of your achievements as your journey unfolds. The road splits. According to what the soldiers have told you, you may find a safe inn by turning left. The forest to the right is lush-like, and the trail overgrown. Kids used to have this song. How did it go? The harshest pathway leads to the dragon's lair. Those who search for treasure, do you truly dare? The signpost in front of you doesn't make your situation much clearer. It was put here by someone who can't write. For folks who can't read, covered in old red paint, it points east. Blood there, as people say. Danger to be found. There's not a soul to ask for guidance. Well, that sounds interesting. I look at my horse. What's its name? Oh, what is our horse's name? We've done the default name so far. Should the horse's name be Naggy? Is that like a pun on nag? Naggy is peaceful, peaceful as you stroke his mane. Nay. Maybe, Skanda, maybe. Lane, that sounds, fun stuff. Naggy is peaceful as you stroke his mane. Maybe it can't help you choose a path, but you've spent many years together. Happy to go on, he takes a couple of steps forward. You spot a few berry shrubs and wild cabbages, but they still need at least 2 weeks to gain maturity. Time to make a turn. So I think we travel. I say we go right. I say we dare venture. The curvy road east is overgrown. Naggy trots when he has a chance, but more often he walks, forced to jump over larger branches blocking the path. The nearby lake is surrounded by thirsty wildlife. Our noble steed. I observe the dark forest, ready to react if something jumps at me. A couple of stone slabs were turned into a hut-like shape, one of the ancient chapels raised by the priests of the United Church in the days of few soldiers and even fewer shelters. The dolmens proved to be especially durable, though the conditions they offered were harsh. The entrance is barely wide enough to let you walk inside. It was meant to keep larger beasts away, including your palfrey. You can't spend the night here. You dismount and look around. Chaos reigns. I enter the chapel. I approach the hourglass carved into stone. It's the most common religious sign of the city folk, adapted by the United Church, Orders of Truth, and the majority of fellowships. It's used in temples and during the funeral rites, but also to decorate codices or jewelry. The winged hourglass portrays the ephemerality of life and the rigidity of time. When possible, they're made of steel, signifying the strength of humankind's determination and innovation. I feel disgusted seeing this cursed symbol. I should defile it. I don't want the locals to get upset at me for destroying their sacred signs. I step away. Naggy is playfully poking the nearby bushes with his nose, ready for the further journey. Typical. I enter the chapel. The beams of light get through the gaps between the rocks, but you can hardly see anything. A torch will fill the place with smoke, but a candle will suffice. You wonder how many travelers have sat on the cold rock, observing the entrance and fighting their heavy eyelids. I look around. Use your keyboard to name objects that you're interested in. Oh wow, I can type my own Huh. What are you looking for or paying attention to? Huh. How did the game know I was doing that? Nagy always goes head first, like Pete Rose. Is there a chest? If it's nearby, you need to figure how to get to it. I look for something else. Is there like a way for me to know? Even though a part of the ground is covered with a single massive slab, there are parts free of any flooring. You see soil, small rocks, sand. In one spot, you find the remnants of charred wood. Part of the floor is littered with the remnants of an old campfire, not more than a couple of months old. You see dust, burnt bones, and wood. The wall above this spot is covered with soot. Can we, clear it away? You noticed sticky soot on the walls. Part of it cover black marks and pictures, possibly letters. A large part of the wall is covered with engravings. It's difficult to figure out what they are meant to portray, but one picture is obvious to you, a long arrow pointing down. Parts of the writing, as well as the nearby wall, is covered with soot. I don't know if we can get anything else out of this. A long arrow pointing down. Go outside, I guess. Maggie is observing the area. Oh, I guess we're back in. Secret. If it's nearby, you need to figure out how to get it. Wall. They are all around you. Fair enough. If there is one, you haven't found it nor activated it yet. You make a couple of small holes in various spots, but the most interesting area turns out to be hidden beneath the remains of an old campfire. You move all the ash and pieces of wood until you find a well-preserved plank. You dig around, finding a solid trap door locked with a steel padlock. Exclamation mark trapdoor. GG Cades. I break the trapdoor with my axe. You take your axe, but realize that the padlock may be much easier to break through. The wooden planks, even if a bit moist, are in great shape. You look for the right angle and make 3 strong swings. After an encouraging clang, the padlock falls off. I look inside. You lift the hatch and the heavy, humid air suggests an abandoned farm cellar. Your candle allows you to estimate that the tunnel is roughly 15 feet deep, but there's no ladder that you can use. You think about lowering the rope, but you realize that one of the brick walls is covered with large holes meant to be as a sort of vertical stairs. You hear no sound coming from the tunnel, but the moldy walls and old cobwebs are not very welcoming. I think vertical stairs is like a ladder? Maybe? We hardly knew ye, padlock. I'm going down there. You have to move slowly, learning the new route. You hug the cold, moist wall, seeking the support of your boots. For your boots. It doesn't take long before you feel comfortable enough to jump down, then light up another candle. Both the walls and the floor are made of stone slabs. You see no movement, no other sources of light. The short tunnel leads you to a small room. I walk inside. The room smells of rotten wood and fungi. Abandoned junk is scattered on the ground in shelves. Earthenware jars, rotting scraps of linen or leather, wooden plates, bones for carving, and rusty iron tools. While these odds and ends may be years or decades old, the basement could be just as ancient as the main floor of the chapel. The one thing that seems to be uniquely fresh and durable is a small wooden box, held together by a few fiber cords. I take the box. It doesn't feel empty, but it's light. You shake it for a bit, trying to guess what's inside. You can't open the box without cutting the cords. I cut the cords with my knife and open the box. The box turns out to be filled with rags, covering a fragile bottle. It's small and closed with a tall wax seal, inside of which you see a thin stick. It should be easy to instantly open it, if needed. You can't look inside, and if you open it, you may not be able to seal it again. Nevertheless, you recognize a magical potion when you see one. Oh, man. Hey, Ghost, how's it going? Yeah, thank you to Ghost for recommending this game. And thank you to the devs for providing the key for it. We named the horse Nagy. And that's it, you're all caught up. I open the bottle and drink from it. I open the bottle and smell its contents. I attach it to my belt. It may be useful later on. I prepare to leave. Given the long-standing tradition in RPGs of holding on to things forever, I'm going to attach the bottle to my belt and prepare to leave. Using the light of your candle, you memorize the holes. You climb up quickly. I go outside. Nagy is playfully poking the nearby bushes with his nose, ready for the further journey. There's nothing else for me to do here. Let's travel. Yeah, same, Jill. Oh, now I am. Let's keep going this way. The hoarding addiction begins. Gaming. The neglected path barely finds any space among all the hills, trees, and streams. There's a deer on the ground, lying in a red puddle, surrounded by a small pack of creatures which notice your presence quickly. There's about 8 of them, with thick furs and shades of brown, gray, and black. The hairless faces with small eyes and large mouths, currently stained by the blood of their prey. Some of them move on all fours, while others comfortably stand on 2 feet. They are 2 to 3 heads shorter than you, but it's your mount which truly towers over them, and you see how a couple of the beasts take a few steps back, grunting and glancing at one another. The one with gray fur shouts, and the others move toward the rocks and sticks which are piled on the road. They hold them awkwardly, and some struggle to maintain a straight posture, leaning on their new weapons for support. Then, almost all of them spread to your left and right, blending with the shrubs loudly. Only 2 of the apes are standing still. I grab my axe and hold the reins tightly. I'm not prepared to face a pack of goblins. I turn around. Let's try. Nagy tries to turn around, but loyally follows your directions. I charge the goblins in the middle of the road. I scream at the pack, shaking my weapon. I try to scare them away. I don't have a crossbow. I throw them some food. Maybe they'll leave me alone. I look behind me just to be sure they're not already there. I make a few threatening swings, focusing my attention on the beasts that enter the forest. I dismount and prepare for combat. I wait for their move. I look behind me, just to make sure they're not already there. You see a surprised goblin, which as far as you can tell was not a part of the group surrounding the carcass. It's holding a wooden spear, or rather a pointed stick, longer than the creature is tall. I instantly retract that. This might have been a little bit more than we were ready for. I dodge the hilt, I grab the spear and pull it. I hit the spear with my axe. You hit the wooden shaft, but either you're lacking strength or your weapon is just too blunt. The spear gets pushed away, but that's all. The goblin grunts and raises it again, preparing for the attack. It makes a threatening cry, and the other goblins shout both at you and at one another. They suddenly leap forward, trying to get you from multiple directions at once. There's more of them now than at the start. Over a dozen. Oh, I can't win, and I run away. I rush Nagy forward. Your mount speeds up, though it doesn't have enough space to enter a gallop. You prepare your weapon, but while you feel somewhat comfortable with a blade when on foot, fighting from a saddle is completely unfamiliar to you. The younger goblin attempts to stop your horse, but the strike it receives sends it into the nearby bush, screaming in pain. The gray one, however, manages to grab your boot, and is now trying to keep up with your speed, making one long leap after another. The first strong swing of your axe wasn't able to reach the target. A spear would do better in this scenario. Well, I don't have a spear. Try to hit it with magic. Let's do that. You unwrap the linen sheet and grab the willow wand, still as smooth as the day you bought it. The pointy carved twig is thin but heavy from the injected quicksilver. You raise it as if you were about to stab the air with a dagger, then make a swipe. The invisible wave misses. It strikes your leg more than the creature, which, in its confusion, loses its balance, scratching the ground with its knees. Your foot hurts more and more, but the beast finally lets go, though your entire leg is in pain. The creature is lying on its stomach, and your mount runs faster. Your leg is free, the road is clear. We ride as fast as we can. That could have been worse, but it could have been better, too. For a few more moments, you hear the angry shouts and screeches, but soon after that, it's again only you and your mount. Time to see what we're going to find down the road. New entry, Fallen Tree. A round pine tree blocks the road. For a wayfarer, walking over the thin branches at the top is not much of an issue. Even Nagy, led on a rope, could walk around the stump. But a large wagon couldn't move forward in one piece, at least not without detaching the mules, unpacking all the wares, and moving everything by hand. Cutting a tree into pieces would take hours, even with proper tools, and you can't hope to move it with just the muscles that you and your mount have to offer. I want to look around. I can't get rid of this obstacle by myself. It would be a decent spot for a fish trap if I had one. I consider washing myself in the river. I want to look around. What do you investigate? The surrounding area. You walk deeper into the wilderness, searching through the shrubs and trees. You don't find any side paths nor remains of a camp or a hamlet. The first game trail you find has been used exclusively by animals. The tree. The leaves are not completely dry, but when you break one of the twigs, it still contains water. There are no signs of sickness that you can recognize, and the termites and other bugs are still sparse. Beneath the trunk, there's no blood, no abandoned limbs. The stump. You don't find any marks of a maw or paws. The top is hip-high and unnaturally smooth. You could comfortably sit down on it. The tracks. In the trampled grass, you find two sets of tracks to follow. There are no hoofprints. The first set is near the destroyed wagon. The wayfarers suddenly stopped. You can see where they made a sharp turn. The second trail is close to the tree stump. Most of the marks were left by flat, cheap boots, not suitable for long walks, but someone was wearing hard, wide heels, distorting the ground. Both trails avoid the eastern wilderness. They stick to the main road and lead you north. They could have belonged to 24 people, maybe more. You follow them for a bit, but lose them once there's no more mud and tree needles to find. The wagon. The planks are still firm, and there's no mustiness in the air, but the vehicle needs just a push to fall to pieces, like a child's toy with nothing to keep the parts together. There are ways to construct a wagon with just wood, leather, and fiber, but you find the marks of hinges, braces, nails, and clamps, which are now all gone. The wheels are missing their steel rims. You find only one linen bag, empty and moist. You can estimate how deep the tracks are. The ground was hard, so the cart's weight wasn't a significant factor. The river. It would only take 2 steps to disappear in the deep water. The rocky bank smells fresh and is filled with the sounds of frogs, insects, and birds. It's not a good spot to quench your thirst. The beds of long kelp pulled by the flow of the river are crowded with fish and 4-legged creatures that you don't even recognize. You keep an eye on the land. There's no carcass in sight, and no signs of shells that would be left nearby. The bushes. You found an arrow. There are no berries left, only broken twigs, fallen leaves, and trampled grass. You notice a pointy arrow made by a human hand, with a head made of horn and black-orange fletching. You don't know what kind of bird would have such feathers. You see no arrow marks around, not even on the wagon. The western hill. The rocky wall isn't much of a challenge. The top of the hill is covered with short grass and sparse trees. You notice a couple of bushes with a good view of the road, just next to the remains of a campfire, charred pieces of wood, ash, bird bones, trampled grass, and a broken earthenware bottle. You follow the deepest tracks, leading to the edge of the soft earth. Someone jumped down, or at least stopped stepping on the grass. The road. The road here is already being overgrown, fading away, but it's in no worse shape than the other parts of the southeastern route. No alternate path has formed around the blockade. I think I know what happened here. It was cut down to set up an ambush. What's the journal say? The road to the east is blocked by a fallen tree. Clearing this path would support future trade routes. You walk deeper into the wilderness, searching through the shrubs and trees. You don't find any side paths, nor remains of a camp or a hamlet. The leaves are not completely dry, so the tree didn't fall down on its own. No blood or abandoned limbs. You don't find any marks of maw or paws. The top is hip-high and unnaturally smooth. You could comfortably sit down on it. The first set is near the destroyed wagon. The wayfarers suddenly stopped. You can see where they made a sharp turn. The second trail is close to the tree stump. Most of the marks were left by flat sheep boots, not suitable for long walks, but someone was wearing hard, wide heels, distorting the ground. Both trails avoid the eastern wilderness. They stick to the main road and lead you north. 24 people, maybe more. It was cut down to set up an ambush. It was broken by a monster. It was broken by the wind. It was dying of an illness. I don't think it's a monster because there's no, like, claw prints in the tree. The wind wouldn't break a tree smoothly. It would, like, splay it, like, open in a, like, really jagged way. Dying from an illness, it's definitely not that. Why was the wagon ambushed? It was attacked by monsters. The owners had no time to move it, so they left it behind. It was attacked by highwaymen. It broke and the owners weren't able to fix it. They left all of the... or they took all of the hardware with them, and it looks like they walked together. So I don't think it was by monsters. If it was monsters, they might have, like, scattered and not, like, in an orderly way, like, walked down the road. It was attacked by highwaymen. It broke and the owners weren't able to fix it. What's this say now? Nothing new. No worries, Jess. Have a good lurk. The planks are still firm and there's no mustiness in the air, but the vehicle needs just a push to fall to pieces. There are ways to construct a wagon with just wood, leather, and fiber, but you find the marks of hinges, braces, nails, and clamps, which are all now gone. The wheels are missing their steel rims. You find only one linen bag, empty and moist. So maybe it was highwaymen. And, like, they took all the valuables? No arrow marks around, not even on the wagon. No worries, Jill. Hope the call goes well. Hope call as well. The road here is already being overgrown, fading away, but it's in no worse shape than the other parts of the southeastern route. No alternate path is formed around the blockade. What do you think happened to the tree? Cut down is most likely, I think. You know what? Never mind. Why was the wagon abandoned? It was attacked by monsters. The owners had no time to move it, so they left it behind. If they didn't have time to move it, they wouldn't have had time to remove all the hardware from it. It was attacked by highwaymen, but there's no arrows or anything. It broke and the owners weren't able to fix it. It's impossible to tell. What was originally transported on the wagon? Valuable merchandise, someone's belonging, passengers, food supplies. I mean, passengers, it was probably full of people. What happened to the owners of the wagon? They were taken north. You think that the tree was cut down to set up an ambush. The cart, which transported human passengers, was abandoned for no specific reason. Its owners were taken north. Huh. What do you think has happened here? Cut down to set up an ambush. It broke and the owners weren't able to fix it. Let's go back one sec here. You can't estimate how deep the tracks are. The ground was hard, so the cart's weight wasn't a significant factor. Huh. Cut down to set up an ambush. Why was the wagon abandoned? I don't think it was monsters. We don't have any evidence of that. The owners had no time to move it, so they left it behind. The only thing about that is, like, it seems like because they were able to move everything that was attached, like, that held it together, that might have been valuable. So they had time. It was attacked by highwaymen. That doesn't really make sense with the time part of it. It broke and the owners weren't able to fix it? I don't know how to... I think I'm going to keep that one as it's impossible to tell. The first set is near the destroyed wagon. The wayfarers suddenly stopped. The second trail is close to the tree stump. Most of the marks were left by flat, cheap boots, not suitable for long walks. Someone was wearing hard, wide heels, distorting the ground. Both trails avoid the eastern wilderness. They stick to the main road and lead you north. They could have belonged to 24 people, maybe more. You follow them for a bit, but lose them once there's no more mud and tree needles. So that kind of makes me think that there were a bunch of people in the wagon because they didn't have shoes on for, like, long walks. But then the wagon broke down and they had to walk. Right on, Snedix. Let's try that. It was cut down to set up an ambush. Why was the wagon abandoned? It's impossible to tell. What was originally transported by the wagon? Passengers. What happened to the owners? They were taken north. You think that the tree was cut down to set up an ambush. The cart, which transported human passengers, was abandoned for no specific reason. Its owners were taken north. The no specific reason part is kind of throwing me. I feel like I should pick something, but I'm not sure. It broke and the owners weren't able to fix it. Let's say that. Transported passengers. They were taken north. You think that the tree was cut down to set up an ambush. The cart, which transported human passengers, broke and the owners weren't able to fix it. Its owners were taken north. I'm sure. While you can't be sure of what really happened here, you don't think there's much left for you to find. Let's hope you haven't missed anything. I consider washing myself in the river. The river is full of life, not only a bit brown and greenish, but also smelling of algae. It won't help you much. Okay. You go back to Nagy. Oh, I have to do this again. Okay. Set down for an ambush. Unable to fix it. Passengers north. I wonder if I am not getting it right because it would have told me something else. Yeah, oh wait, unless, if I do this again, will I be able to travel? It's making me think that I'm missing something because it's not moving me on. Travel, yeah. Let's head to the inn, I think. Nagy trots with ease, unbothered by the few branches covering the beaten road. The bird songs and distant howls draw your attention to the forest, which gets sparser and brighter. You spot boars, roe deer, and saurians. The sight of a nearby wolf pack worries you, but once you push your hips forward and your palfrey enters a canter, the beasts don't even begin a pursuit. The speed alone will protect you from many dangers. You notice a stone tower, taller than the trees. It must be the inn I've heard about. Inns like this one fit the regions traveled by merchants, but you wouldn't expect a place of this size in a forsaken peninsula. The stone and lumber must have been transported from far away, and the workers, guarded by expensive mercenaries, surely lived for many seasons in a primitive hamlet subsisting on salted supplies. There are seemingly no cracks in the wall, and the building was whitewashed only a few years back. The road is wide and beaten. Dozens of souls could hide, if not in the buildings. May is here. Thank you for the sub, May. I hope work is going well for you. I hope that you have a lovely work lurk. Thank you, May. Thank you. The road is wide and beaten. Dozens of souls could hide, if not in the buildings, then at least in the yard. The expenses and labor put into this fortress were worth many trading ships. 3 armed people are on the ramparts, though you only see what's above their waistline. They're leaning on the parapet, right next to the gate, and you think you notice a glimpse of a smile. They wear gambesons, each one of them dyed differently. Yellow, green, and linen gray. Yeah, doing all right, May. Thank you. Yeah, and like I said, I hope work goes well for you and you're having a chill day so far. I approach the gate. A woman in yellow armor leans forward. She has long, curly, disorderly red hair, pointed in every possible direction. This combination of colors doesn't work at all. In the woods, one would have to shout to draw this much attention. There's still a fair distance between the two of you, but she speaks loudly. I hadn't seen a horse for years now. I just said that it's weird to see such large jackass, huh? Her voice is young and strong, with an accent that reminds you of the villages spread around Hovleven, but no jackass would wear a saddle, I'd say. She exchanges a few words with a male guard wearing green, giving you time to move closer. Well, this one here says there really are donkey saddles. Say, traveler, how hard is it to ride a horse? Friendly? Playful? I think we should use a joke or a witty comment. Let's try playful. I laugh. You wouldn't believe it. The lessons were a pain. That's... okay. You get off your horse and imitate the silly walk from the day that followed your first long journey, when your whole shell was crying. You illustrate the pain as you move your hand from your back to hips, then thighs. In return, the guards tell you about the time when they had to carry their friend with bitten-off legs for 3 days straight, through the heart of the woods. Meanwhile, the other guards open the gate. You may be in a good mood, the woman in the yellow jacket smiles at you, but don't get so noisy when you talk to our boss. The man never smiles. He has the world's suffering sculpted on his face. She leads you under the roof, under which your palfrey can rest, tethered with a cord to a wooden post near some old hay. Once you're ready, go inside and speak with our boss. Maybe you're hungry? The other guards take care of various chores. They peek at your mount every now and then as they're splitting firewood, cleaning their clothes, weeding at the garden patches, and moving chairs. 2 of them are making a rope. You head toward the inn, hearing the piercing scream of a boar from the other side of the yard. I open the door. Only some of the windows are open, revealing the dust dancing in the sunbeams. The air is a bit stuffy. A muscular man is sweeping the floor near the stairs, but after he glances at you, he leans the broom against the wall and heads behind the counter. You're lucky to show up. His voice is deep and soft, with a city-like accent. He observes you with a keen attention, yet avoids your eyes. I have a keg of decent ale. Wormwood, bog myrtle, juniper berries, cat's foot. He fills a mug carefully and puts it on the countertop. It's going to spoil soon, today, maybe, and we don't drink here before the even. I hate to see the good stuff going to waste. His skin is dark, almost purple, rare even among the southern tribes, and his hair is naturally bluish. His clothes are quite fancy for manual labor. The elegant tunic wouldn't stand out in the city square. I stand at the counter. The planks let out a creak after every step you make, so you slow down a bit. You could swear that the innkeeper made little to no noise. That's a really cool detail. Like, we step so loudly that it makes us like self-conscious, but we just watched this person who is very comfortable here move and didn't notice any sound. Here you go. He pushes the mug forward, but just so you know, my pelt of the north doesn't belong to Hovleven. You can sleep on the floor if you wish so, but if you want a bed or a meal, you have to pay. We may have some leftovers from dinner, but I'd need to check. Alright, so we were instructed to not, like, fuck around with this guy, right? Like, to be very straightforward. So playful's out. Distanced, maybe? Or is this not their boss? Is this just the, Is this the innkeeper? Yeah, this is the innkeeper, so let's be friendly. Thanks for the drink. I see you know how to make friends with a Roadwarden. He meets your eyes with a puzzled look, then grabs a wet cloth and starts to wipe down the shelves. From time to time, your conversation is interrupted by splashes of dirty water in a wooden bucket. Well, nothing is truly free. I have work for a soul of the road, but I don't need a new mouth to babble. He speaks slowly, yet audibly. I value my time. You should value yours. I drink the ale, I ignore the ale and tell the men I have a couple of questions. The dark room and wooden walls of the mug make the liquid look as brown as a chestnut. The lee in spring hits your nose, and the first sip is even too complex, too flowery. While the brewer has used fancy ingredients, the exotic licorice ruins the aftertaste. Now you know why there's so much left. Maybe it takes an acquired taste. The innkeeper nods. I was hoping to see someone willing to patrol the roads. Maybe you'll help me with a worrying thought I have. Which is? There are brigands in the woods. Our place is a stronghold, so I'm not afraid of an open strike, but they've gotten more active in the last 2 years. One day they may steal our furs, and I've no doubt they're the reason why merchants come here only once. Having bandits around gets expensive. He rubs his hands together, camouflaging his paws. I want you to reach Howler's Dell, northwest from here. It's the largest settlement around. I'm sure you'll get there sooner or later. Ask Thais, the mayor, about Glaucia, that bloodthirsty wolf of a woman. I've heard rumors about a raid in the north. If Glaucia's ready to break the truce with the locals, I'm willing to join forces with them to get rid of her band. He looks at a nearby dragon bone. Not too difficult, right? Just do it when you have a chance. A couple of days won't make much of a difference. I'll pay you 2 coins when you get back with the news. Fine? I nod. Or 3. Let's just say that's fine. It's Glaucia's band. Great. What else do you need? Could eat something? What do you have for sale? Do I have anything you'd like to buy so we can engage in commerce that way also? I'm looking for Asterion, the previous Roadwarden. What can you tell me about the peninsula? I didn't expect to find an inn of this size in a place such as this. About Glaucia's band. Any rumors worth sharing? Or that's all I need? We definitely need to eat. Yes, I feed them to our boar. I won't give them away for nothing. He tells you to wait, then leaves the building for a few minutes and returns with a wooden bucket and a long stick ending with a hook. Go through the gate and turn left. You'll see a bunch of bushes. We need some berries. Bring me a bucket full. You'll be done in half an hour or so. Your horse could use a nap anyway, and I'll prepare something to fill you. The hook is not made of metal or wood. It's a long, curved claw, almost black. Snack time. I reach for the tools. Half an hour, that's quite a lot for berry picking. The tools are cold, not too heavy. You notice a pair of thick gloves at the bottom of the bucket. Ah, the berries are not the problem, the innkeeper smirks. Unlike the snakes. Better scare them away with a stick or move them with a hook and protect your hands. The little ones won't eat you, but don't get bitten. I'm sure you know how to be patient. I have other questions. I'm looking for Asterion, the previous Roadwarden. Are you now? He goes to the table and invites you to sit down with him. I don't think I'm going to be of much help. He rests his elbow on the table and grunts quietly to clear his throat. But I do want you to find him, so... When asked about his intentions, he measures his words. Asterion and I made a risky deal. Well, a very promising one. Last time he was here, he took 50 coins, my half of the investment. He knocks on the table with a fist anxiously. If you get my coin, or at least find out what happened to the guy, I'll make sure you won't be disappointed after bringing me the news. Could it be that Asterion stole the coins and ran away? He looks at a window and starts to play with a shutter. I just think Asterion ain't the kind of soul that would do such a thing. For him, it wasn't much of a fortune, and I'd risk saying he had earned my trust. Not only mine, you know. It's easy for a Roadwarden to make connections. He always had places to go, things to take care of. He rubs the table with his thumb as if trying to clean an invisible stain. I've asked travelers. I've sent a couple of my pals to find him. No real news. I know he stayed in White Marshes for a day and was meant to do something for the people there. It's a village in the northwest. Just stay on the main road until you reach the bogs, then enter them. You may get there before dusk. So let me know once you find anything, and we may yet return to this whole investment thing. I'll think about it. He nods. What else do you need? How much money do I have? got 10 coins. What do you have for sale? Welcome back, Jill. I can go and pick up a few things for you. Some food for your travels to start with. Apples, nuts, sausage, not too many at once. We need to maintain our supplies. I've got an elk fur I don't need. Its buyer was caught by a pack of red wolves. Nice for a sleeping spot, just as nice for a wall. An almost untouched bowl of soap. Priceless for a traveler. You can't tell if he's being sarcastic. Made of fine oak ash. Strong, though you should have some better supplies before you start your own bathhouse. After you mention you'd like something more useful on these roads, he looks down. I don't have any blades or armor to spare, but if you pay well, you can take one of our crossbows and a bunch of quarrels. A yew-bow, wool cords, and the trigger needs just a bit of oil. It's as good as you can get without soaking it in magic. Takes a bit of muscle to draw, but even a 16-year-old could handle it. I won't sell it cheap, but I'm ready to give a discount to a helpful ally. Let me take a look at what you have first. 3 filling meals that won't spoil anytime soon. A box of soap. A set of 5 arrows for a crossbow. The crossbow and the fur are too expensive. Let's buy the food. And let's buy some soap. For now. Do I have anything you'd like to buy? You pull out some items, but the innkeeper shakes his head. I don't need those, nor could I sell them to anyone. I'd rather make coins than waste them, so bring me something of value. I pack my things. What can you tell me about the peninsula? What could anyone say? This place doesn't even have a name, unless there's an old book and an archive that no soul knows about. You know what I'd call everything from here to the coast? The hunting ground. He glances at your eyes. But it's not us who hunt. Keep that in heart. But the beasts in all shapes and forms. His words gain confidence, slowly, which is strengthened by his deep voice. I've lived in this inn for over 10 years now, and I've only seen a couple of roads, a couple of places. It's just, once you get here, and you see how harsh it is to hit the road, you have only more reasons to stay at the warm stove behind a wall, even if it's suffocating. He looks towards the windows. I'm sure you've heard a lot lately. I'm sure you've heard a lot already. That the people don't build hamlets anymore. There are no ibexes from the south, and the traders stay for only a few days. All of our iron is used for cauldrons, not swords or tools. There you go. And it also makes sense then that wagon was like stripped of all its iron. If he lives at the inn, how does he pay for his room? I think maybe he pays himself every day. All right, Snedex. I love it. What will I find traveling west? Are the eastern roads as rough as I've heard? Have you ever been to the northern coast? What will I find traveling west? Well, there are hills nearby. Then you'll find a village, maybe an hour away from here. It was destroyed by beasts almost a decade ago. Nothing to see there. The goblins live there now, so most people just travel around it. And they say it's haunted, but who knows? Who cares? He crosses his arms and starts to sway back and forth, gathering his thoughts. You'll get to a large tree on the edge of the swamp. For the locals, it's sacred. You're not used to hearing someone mentioning pagans as if there's nothing unusual about them. There's a small path south which leads to an old mine in the mountains. Nothing to find there. But keep riding north, and you'll find Howler's Dell, set at a clean brook. Farmers live there, and mouflons and druids. They'll let you stay for a night, but they're not cheap. If anyone thinks my prices are bad, it means they ain't been to the Ape Ale Inn yet. He lets out a gentle smile. I smile politely. I know only a bit about the next settlement, Old Pagos. The soil there ain't too fertile, so they work in their quarry and help other settlements build things in exchange for crops. The forests and hills ain't too harsh, but the Seekers have a small monastery nearby, in the mountains. I don't care much about them. They keep to themselves, and they don't pay well. The third village is unknown to me, white marshes, set at the bogs. I've heard it smells like a griffin's lair. I've heard a lot of nasty rumors about the place, but I won't share them. I don't want to be a lie spreader. So, 3 villages really. Howlers, the one near the monastery, whatever it's called, and marshes. Don't let their beds and palisades fool you, though. Weird people live there. Don't tell them more than you need to. You wonder if it's something he would tell other travelers as well. Are the eastern roads as rough as I've heard? Pretty much. Don't leave the main road, I'd say. Not so far from here you'll find an old dolmen. A few of my people had to spend a night there. Monkeys stole food and gods from their bags. It was their fault. One of them had fallen asleep in the middle of his watch, but, The eastern forests are wild. The roads are rough. Almost no soul lives there. One day, all these roads will be swallowed by the trees again. The furthest my team has ever gone was the home of the Enchantress. Just stay on the track until you reach the crossroads, right near an abandoned watchtower. From there, turn east. You'll recognize the place. It's a nice home in a lonely meadow surrounded by a wall. He looks toward the closed window, then at you again. Kind of like our walls, but simpler, without coating. She lives as a hermit, Eudocia. I don't even know how she survives there, but if you don't have decent coin, you won't find much there. So, back to the crossroads. If you turn left instead, you'll see a road. People stay away from it. It connects the tower and the monastery, a shortcut between the 2 sides of the peninsula. I was warned by the locals not to use it. It already belongs to the beasts. Have you ever been to the northern coast? I only know about another inn. It's far from here, maybe a day on foot, a bit less from the eastern side. His eyes once again focus on the floor. I've never been there, but I've heard it's a safe place, close to villages of fishers and hunters, though I don't know much about them. That's all I need. I didn't expect to find an inn of this size in a place such as this. So you know a thing or two after all. His mocking tone is soon replaced by a gentle smile. It was built long before we arrived. It didn't work out well for the previous owners. Once the war ended, they left. Not enough travelers, bad trade. The villages stick to themselves. We, however, came prepared, and now we're prospering. When you ask him how they can afford all the supplies, he runs his fingers through his dark hair. I'm not against running an inn, but we don't rely on guests. We're the ones doing all the trading. My hunters are a clever bunch and stay safe in the forest. In exchange for furs, claws, and bones, we get what we need, and more, both from the south and the north. He relaxes in his chair. We have a good life here. We spent a whole lot on armor, crossbows, lumber, spears, but in another 10, maybe 20 years, we'll have enough savings to move to Havlavan and not work for another day of our lives. We take risks, but smartly. The team is stronger than ever, and I have big plans for us. Yeah. It's surprising to find purple-skinned man so far in the north. Is there a good story behind the inn's name? Let's ask about the name. I mean, there's a story, but not a good one. He clears his throat. For years I wanted to have an inn called Pelt, but in my city it would be in bad taste. Taverns and inns named with a single word were cheap and had a nasty reputation. There was the Claw and Mugger, Basilisk and Blissful, I think. The good places used at least 2 words. Empty barrel, a rose in a helmet, Empress's smile. Pighead was the exception. It was a real dive, he chuckles. In my soul, it's still just a pelt. Pelts are what we came here for, and what will make us reach our goals. I ain't seen a soul looking like this since my ma died, he shrugs. It's not a fascinating tale. Let's just say I wasn't part of the invasion, yet I'm glad it freed all those who were chained by the cities and their corsairs. He looks at the wall. I'm Lasan, by the way. It might be... I'm not sure if that's an I or an L. It's an I, so, Yasan? I think we'll say Yasan. But I rarely hear that name. I return to my other questions. About Glaucia's band, he freezes, observing your hands silently. He wants me to get the answer from the mayor of Howler's Dell. Okay, I'm on it. Any rumors worth sharing? He crosses his arms. I don't like to talk about people who ain't nearby. Show me first that you're someone worth changing habit for. All right, fair enough. That's all I need. I go outside. You step outside. Nagy is lazily looking around. You hear the sounds of work coming from the armorer's workshop. Should we forage for berries? I approach the guards. The woman in yellow armor is kneeling next to a brown, hairy boar, which is resting on its side. The beast is not as large as the dark ones from the forests. It responds to the touch of the human's hand and brush with grateful grunting and rapid twitches of a hind hoof. No matter how friendly it appears, it is still tethered to the well, and you have no doubts that its charge would leave Nagy dead in a breath. Nagy, you take all the time you need. When the woman notices you, she steps forward to the boar's disappointment. So, the new Roadwarden. She points at a window with her chin, forestalling the question. We don't need anything now, but when we travel with our furs, we can use some assistance. Jill, thank you very much for the gift sub to Snedex. Thank you, Jill. Appreciate that. Again? Thank you, Jill. She may be around 30, but her warm voice and bright smile are camouflaging the touch of time on her unpowdered face. Like many red-haired people with freckles, her skin is unhealthily pale. The boar runs up to her, observing your boots and fruitlessly sniffing for food beneath the beaten ground. She pats its back, but maintains her focus. How about a game or two? We have a bit of time. We talk a bit about this and that. Maybe you'll get a couple of coins. Or lose one. She winks. We could play dice, or throw axes at a target. I don't target you specifically. Jill hype indeed. Written like a diss track. That wasn't the nicest description. I don't know that it's like a good idea right now to like fuck around. Maybe later. Right, I kind of thought so. Her smile disappears. She returns to the other guards. Roadwardens are always busy, ain't they? Better hope you'll have a day of rest sometime. Have you ever been at the heart of the woods? We sometimes hunt south from there. There are good hunting grounds in the western half. The second one is too overgrown. Maybe the soil is different. She shrugs, then moves the hair away from her forehead. But it's a risky spot. There are treants there, and wolves, even the furless ones. And if you have to go through the tall grasses, watch out for what's on the ground. There ain't many archers in the trees. She smiles, as if it's a joke, but there are all too many worms, even larger than a water leech. Jill's not a troll. She doesn't have a trolling bone in her body. I show her the arrow I found near the fallen tree. Did any of you drop this? She returns it without hesitation. Nah, we get ours from the villages in the south, and they don't use pheasant feathers. The locals ask too much for their arrows, as if they're filled with pneuma or something. True enough. Tell me about yourself. Oh, what was that? After a brief giggle, her voice gets cold and serious. Nah, Roadwarden. We use names and stories among friends. You ain't one. Don't make me tempt curses. I have some questions about this place. Not much to tell, honestly. There are many beasts around, both wild game and dangerous monsters. We spend our time surrounded by these walls, leaving only to hunt, forage, or trade. Not bestie. Not yet. I agree, Lane. It's very well presented. That's an unusual tower. I'd expect it to be closer to the gate. And shorter. Yeah, same. Like in Havlavon. Fair, but it ain't here to protect the gate. This stronghold was built long before we moved in, and not to fight off humans. The tower was meant to be used by those who observed the deep forest. We look out for fires, dragons, and any winged creatures that are looking to roost on the roof. Baldy, she nods toward a man who indeed is completely bald, has a great eye, sees well even in darkness. Any interesting creatures living nearby? Ha! Here! Everything lives here. She flips her hair. I swear we saw a few dragons, a unicorn family, a battle between trolls and goblins, faced 2 beastmen, and a gargoyle, and a hunting queen shouts all the time. I could tell you all about them, but I won't. She winks and pats the boar on its head. You know hunters have their secrets. Your group seems to be quite attached to this boar. How could you not be? She crouches and raises the boar's head, but it steps away and squeals as if someone's murdering it. It came with us from the city, just in case. We had no clue how our first winter would go, so we all needed some backup meat. And it works too. Cleans the dirt. She reaches out to the beast again, but it trots away. The woman straightens up with a pleased sigh. We haven't needed to eat it so far. But it's also funny. I learned in my home village that the farm boars are getting a bit smaller and more cuddly, kind of like ibexes. So it's not such a wild, dangerous beast, but we don't let it get too close to other animals. Or children. The music has been a delight, yeah. What do you usually hunt for? Anything we can eat or sell. If there's a partridge, a squirrel, or a rat, we don't complain. But when we move as a group, we look for something larger. Deers and aurochs are delicious, but we don't always look for taste alone. There's value in bones, antlers, claws, tusks, things people use to make tools or sculptures. We use some of them to make tools and spears. You can never have enough spears. She pauses, looks at a strand of her hair, then suddenly speaks up again. And we look for furs, of course. What can I find north from here? I'm sorry, we don't really go into those regions. We stay close to home, only sometimes move south or west to Howler's Dell, but only to trade. They're fine with buying more than they need, since they then take wares to the coast. She takes a long breath, twirling her hair and gathering her thoughts. You know what? I've never even seen a beach. And I've lived here for how many? More than 10 years now, she giggles. The only part of the sea I've seen was from Old Pagos, which is placed on a hill. I've never put a toe in salt water. She looks toward another huntress, who confirms that her experience is the same. But Old Pagos is a good place. As long as you don't mock their order and act nice, they'll also be kind. Boss says they're too serious for him to stand them, but at least they don't bite without a reason. Have you heard anything about the necromancers? It's something new. Her voice lowers to a whisper. I've never been to White Marshes, but over the years we've seen people moving away from there, south, and they told us that the place has changed too much. A priest died, I think, and the new one awakens the dead. Sorry, Roadwarden. That's all I know. If she's hiding something, she sounds convincing. Thanks. She observes you with a hand casually resting on her hip. The innkeep has asked me to forage for berries. She chuckles. Don't worry about it. Usually we forage by ourselves, but he couldn't ask you for a dragon for a meal. He gives small jobs to people all the time just to see who agrees to do them. Wants to judge who's of use and who's too proud for their own good. If you've agreed, just be sure to get those berries today. And don't try to take his tools away. He hates thieves. I'm looking for knowledge about wild creatures. Well, I told you our knowledge is valuable. I don't know. She looks at the boar, which seems to be obsessed with a clump of grass growing next to the wall. 15 dragons. No less. I don't have enough. Never mind. I could ask for a discount for friends, but we're not friends yet. I walk away. You return to the courtyard. You hear the sounds of work coming from the armorer's workshop. To the armorer. You walk past the well and find a small open shed, not unlike the stable, but with a humble set of tables, carving tools, hammers, sharpening stones, pincers, knives, and other tools. As long as something can be solved by brute force, this place will find a way to do so. There are 2 people sitting on a long bench. The first one is a male with maybe inch-long hair, cleanly shaven face, a thin, long yellow tunic, bare legs, and sandals. He ignores your presence, sewing a gambeson with great concentration. The second person is a boy, maybe 15, who's wearing the crude outfit of a farmer. He glances at you, but soon returns to sharpening a long dagger. Greetings. The man raises his head, but it's the boy who speaks, focused on his task. He ain't talking. Tell him what it is you need. The man smiles in confirmation, looking at the piece of garment in his hands, then looks around, shrugs, and returns to you with a raised eyebrow. Could you patch my clothes if they were torn? I look at the youngster learning the trade. I see I leave the shed. Let's see what, a new trader unlocked. He nods, points at the laces in front of your jacket, raises his clenched fingers to his shoulders, then gently spreads and lowers them, as if taking off a robe. You follow his command and allow him to properly inspect your gambeson. After a few minutes, he gives it back, then reaches for his pouch. He pulls out 1 dragon bone, shrugs, then another one, and waves both of them in the air, pursing his lips. He makes a few speech-like noises with his empty mouth, groaning what sounds like, "I don't know." I consider his offer. Gambeson repairs. In 1 hour, your jacket will be patched up. Yeah. Your jacket is as good as this armorer can make it. I feel like this gambeson could use some adjustments. He nods enthusiastically, but then apologetically points behind him at a small box filled with basic tools. He ain't that experienced, says his assistant. We do this and that, but only simple things. Could you patch my clothes if they were torn? He shakes his head and points at the uneven seams on his own tunic, then grabs a crude bone needle and shows you its broken head. He wouldn't even if he had the tools, says the boy, but you can try in Howler's Dell, or Gale Rocks. Learning the trade, I see. Kind of, he answers reluctantly, but his teacher pats his knee, giving him a harsh look. The kid clears his throat. Yes, but we both ain't masters, you see. There's not a soul to teach us. So once I'm ready, I'll try hunting instead. Fixing things for others is boring. The man grunts a sound, though you don't understand it. Seeing your face, the boy chuckles. He said, safe. Let's meet in the middle. Boring, but safe. The man nods. I leave the shed. Let's look at the well. The recently renovated wooden roof covers the well from rain and birds. One of the guards is enjoying the cold drink he drew with a bucket and tells you to use only as much water as is necessary. The oak ash soap you own can help you get cleaner. I like that shell is like our body. We call it our shell. Let's clean up. Splashing yourself with cold water from a bucket won't take away your smell, but it's enough to remove the tallow and sweat from your skin or mud stains from your clothes. I won't get any cleaner here. My clothes need no washing. So our appearance is now 2 out of 5. You don't stand out from the crowd. You won't get much cleaner without a proper bath. Hard and shell-like. Our armor is at a 3 of 4. Vitality at 2 of 4. We should take a break. Nourishment of 1 of 4. You won't restore health while sleeping or resting. I step away. Let's forage. The innkeeper knew what he was talking about. You put on the gloves and look through the bushes from a safe distance. It doesn't take long before you notice the first serpent lying on a rock somewhere in the thicket. The creatures are not that large, and even if some of them hiss at you or slither closer, the jabs of the hook keep them at a distance. You don't know much about these berries. They are round and reddish. You wouldn't trust such a color even if you were looking for food in the wilderness. The plants don't have thorns, but the leaves are harsh, so you make sure to thoroughly cover your skin with your clothes. You have to look through many bushes to fill the bucket, but the presence of insects and snakes doesn't allow you to relax. I gather the berries and go back to the inn. You've returned to the courtyard. 2 of the guards are participating in a friendly skirmish. Their wrestling is accompanied by a crowd. I enter the inn. Only some of the windows are open, revealing the dust dancing in the sunbeams. The air's a bit stuffy. The innkeeper is sitting behind the counter contemplating an empty mug. So, you again. Need anything? I put his fruits on the counter. Great. He peeks inside the bucket. I've got cabbage stew with a few goose chunks for you. I'd serve it even to merchants, if there were any around. The meal is warm and filling. It's well seasoned and not overcooked. And like I've said, I rarely have food to spare, but feel free to ask if you ever stop by. You may be lucky. I've been cooking my whole life. Sounds pretty gross. But this is a different time and place than we're in. This is all survival. Thankfully, we aren't in that position. It's easier for you to overcome physical struggles. Okay. I keep chewing. And how did that old hook of mine work out for you? I see you still have your hands. I give him the hook. Oh, we're not gonna lie. I'd like to buy it from you. I give him the hook. I'm fine. He takes the tools from you and nods. Need anything else? That's all I need. You step outside. Nagy is moving around slowly, as far as its cord allows. You hear the sounds of work coming from the armorer's workshop. Let's try the axe throwing. If you think you can handle it, we'll throw 8 times, so it's going to take us half an hour or so. 4 players, each one bets a coin, the winner takes all. Still in? Sure. Your words, and especially the dragon bone you pull out, are cheerfully welcomed. The guards prepare a couple of wooden planks which are leaned against the wall. There are also spectators, but you're told that the other hunters are either sleeping or have duty on the tower. Remember, no magic, says one of the players. His face is deadly serious. You're meant to aim at the target drawn with charcoal. The person whose axe lands the closest to the center of the circle gets a point. Axes that fail to stay in the plank don't count. The person who has the most points at the end of the last turn becomes the winner. You talk a lot, but also don't say much. You share casual jokes, memories, and views on luck and optimal strategies. Nagy and Tullia's camp are also brought up, but when you ask about the roads or the locals, their stories are vague. The drinks are here. It's a poor beer made from the leftovers after the regular brewing. It's cold, sweet, and doesn't reach your head, but you try to avoid the smell. Just don't spill anything. The boar may get sick, says the opponent with one arm. As a guest, you start with the first throw. Your axe flies well, hitting the very middle of the painted target and piercing the plank with a pleasant thud, which makes it really difficult for the other players to outperform you. A minute later, you've won the first round, but you can't expect to be that lucky every time. All I can do is try my best. After a long series of misses, you finish with 1 point, the second last place. You give the gasping winner your dragon bone. Cheers, he says, but doesn't make a big deal out of it. The light-hearted comments of the other losers lighten up the mood, and the guard in the yellow armor approaches you with a smile. Ghost, no worries, man. I'm glad that you're here. I hope you're enjoying yourself. And yeah, the music has been great. Not last, though. Thank you, Jill. So, yeah, we've already talked about this. Is there any discount for friends? Well, depending on the friend, she gives you a radiant smile. Let's say 14. I don't have that much. I have 6. If it's too much for you, maybe ask me after you spend some time around. Show us what you're capable of, or play dice with us when you have an hour to spare. These folks here, she starts to whisper and points with her thumb at the guards behind. They crave gossip. How much time? We already played today, okay. Cheers, I am. Oh, so like my hypothesis gets added to the description of the place. Should we head? It's interesting that we didn't really, maybe the innkeeper was the boss. I thought there'd be like a head guard or something. All right, let's continue. The road uphill meanders, slowing you down and forcing you to pay close attention not only to the shadows of the trees, but also to the tight, rocky passages. You can't help but notice a few caves and fine ambush spots. I keep an eye out for any sign of life. The ruined village. Standing in front of the gate, you hear no voices, no tools at work, no steps. Dozens of birds live among the collapsed roofs. Their fluttering, singing, and squawking is free of worries. If you want to travel any further, you need to ride around the palisade. Searching the ruins may take a lot of time. The broken gate in the north will lead you to the village. The sound of a gentle river reaches you from the east, where you see a saggy fence surrounding an overgrown pasture. Behind the burnt building in the east, you see an oddly barren field. I take a closer look at the gate. The palisade is in good shape, and the entrance wasn't even touched by the fire. It was torn away, possibly thrown. The amount of force used must have been huge, but you'd expect that it would push the gate into the village, not away from it. You don't see the marks of a dragon bite. A troll could toss such planks, but after so many years, you see no paw prints. A mage? You can't really tell. I approach the building near the field. The broken logs and planks are charred, while the wooden walls are rotten and covered in moss. You see no ashes or dust, proving that the fire happened long ago. The smell is awful, and there are no reasons to stay for long. You see no furniture, just some broken shelves. It was just a storage room. The valuable odds and ends were already taken by the scavengers. I move forward. Where do you want to go? Explore the southwest part of the village. It's cool how it reveals itself in the map there. The buildings, some of which have collapsed, are made of wood, now charred and rotten. You spot claw marks on the walls, especially close to the doors and window frames. They could belong to a dragonling, or a large wolf, larger than the gray ones, or a corpse eater. Too many options to make a guess. Yet no beast remains in sight. You find the remains of clothes, furniture, odds and ends. Only one object seems to be of use. A basket-like fish trap made of vines and willow branches. If a large fish swims into it, it won't be able to get out on its own. It's quite large, but I can fit it on my saddle. So we already saw a place that we could use this trap, and it was near the fallen tree. You feel a slight aching in your stomach. Where do you want to go? I inspect the palisade in the west. The tracks of human footwear and many, many more ape footprints cover the path formed around the palisade's breach. As far as you can tell, the freshest footprints lead to the village. The wooden stakes spread on the ground are rotten, covered in mushrooms, small flowers, insects, and worms. A good source of animal or goblin food, though you'd expect them to also hunt for the birds and eggs. The meadow in the west turns into a forest quickly. The grasses in the north surrounded dozens of tree stumps, already covered with moss and fungi. I shouldn't enter the forest, especially not in this area. It's unpredictable. I inspect the clearing in the west. The meadow is lush and colorful, and so dense it's unsafe for a rider. For a couple of minutes you lead Nagy with a rope, avoiding the potential disaster in case of a hoof falling into an animal den. Being forced to travel around the palisade every time you get here is going to be a pain. Most of the tree trunks look similar and have a comparable size. They were most likely planted with the sole purpose of being cut down and used by the locals, though cutting so many trees at once, that alone could provoke the wrath of the herds. Such a process should be spread across a couple of seasons, and you can't be sure that was the case. In the west and north, the clearing turns into a wild forest. In the east, you see a road leading north. We gotta keep Nagy. It must be protected at all costs. I go to the road leading north from the village. I go to the main square. In every village, the main square is the fanciest area, meant to charm the travelers. Yet this is way more than you expected. The houses are as big as in Havlavan, and the paved ground took a lot of work and materials. The walls, now charred and riddled with holes, are made of an expensive coated wattle. The tiles for the roofs also had to be brought here from a different settlement. You peek inside the 3 smaller buildings, the rotting remains of their former splendor. The birds living in dozens of nests respond to your arrival with quite a commotion. You don't find even a single dragon bone, nor a tool or a piece of furniture left unbroken or unrotten. You're surrounded by bad smells, dirt, animal droppings, and garbage. The well also stinks. It has no bucket, but you'd be afraid to use it anyway. Who knows how many birds have relieved themselves inside, or how many old rats have found their death while climbing up the walls. Suddenly you hear some sounds coming from the largest building. Your stomach makes you let out a painful groan. I wonder what's going on with our stomach. Was there something in that stew? Skanda, I'm just glad you're here. I hope you're enjoying yourself and you don't feel like you need to change anything. You step cautiously toward the scent of urine and sweat. The flickering candlelight shows you broken furniture, yet no signs of burnt wood. You consider pulling the other door when a masculine voice proves that your presence is not unnoticed. I did not want it to come to this, but stay where you are. Whatever you put inside, be it shoe, a hand, or you damn thinker, it'll get a bolt. Agreed, and good to see you, Meki. The drawings are great. Bad stew, I hope not. Alright, so how do we want to handle this? Friendly, playful, distanced, intimidating, vulnerable. Should we try a joke? I'm a Roadwarden, so I kind of need my thinker. Will the boot be enough? Aren't you a funny one? He growls. How do I know a droll like you is telling the truth? Walk slowly, Roadster High. If you're not an outlaw, you're safe, and even if you are, don't try anything funny. Leave your arms out. My little ballista here is all pulled and ready. The man's voice is imposing, and his accent is tricky for you. He could be from the distant south, but as long as you don't speak too quickly, you understand one another. You don't hear any other movements, breathing, voices. You lean your axe against the doorframe and make sure that your knife is well hidden. I walk inside. I love how, as you enter spaces, the diagram, completes. Oh, this might be, Skanda, yeah. This may very well be. The dense smell of urine hits you with full force, while the tools and utensils are hard to distinguish from the rubbish. The route to the upper floor is blocked by the collapsed roof and loose wooden beams. There are scraps of rusting iron and steel on the ground, detached from now destroyed barrels. I probably didn't love the joke then. The head guy, the thinker. The scavenger, okay, so that's his title, I guess. The scavenger is sitting on a blanket in front of the tent, pointing at you with a loaded crossbow. Not a short man, though a bit skinny. He's tanned, dark-haired, and has seen his share of struggles. There are long claw scars on his left cheek and another one that would divide his eyebrow in half if it hadn't been consumed by a fire, just like the rest of his forehead. His clothes are untainted by vanity. He's barefoot, in a dirty linen shirt with rolled-up sleeves and simple pants that use a cord for a belt. His long beard and hair are untrimmed and tangled. I sit on the stairs with raised hands. I'm not a threat. You wipe the dust off the steps, but before you sit down, you hear the man's annoyed voice. Now, don't get too homey. It's the only place here that's not just ashes and debris, and I'm not sharing it. You better ride ahead. I already piled up whatever hasn't rotten. The candle lights are dancing on his burnt face and arms. He moves his crossbow just enough to make sure he won't shoot you by accident. I saw your horse. Maybe you could help me. What are you looking for in this place? You don't sound like you're from the north. Yeah, I like that phrase. I want to make sure there are no undead crawling around. I need to get to know the peninsula if I'm going to patrol it. I'm short on dragon bones. I wanted to see if there was anything left behind. I was wondering what caused this place to collapse. I've heard about some bandits. They could have a hideout nearby. I'm looking for another Roadwarden, a man known as Asterion. I need to get to know the peninsula if I'm going to patrol it. Then better stay away from the eastern paths. No shell rides there anyway. But even the west and the coast have roads like moose crap. I've traveled and pedaled for years now, you know. I wait for some group to join. And here, people don't travel or know damn anything about any place. Just a waste of time, I tell you. A long pause. Listen, he scratches his thighs nervously. I'm hungry. So damn hungry I can't hunt or fish with all the 8 men around. Can you share anything, Roadster? I may be a drifter, but wouldn't beg if I had not lost my bags on the road. Meki, you could never disrupt, my friend. Thank you for the 17-month streak. Thank you for the resub, Meki. Really appreciate you being here, man. Thank you. Should we share? I feel like we should share with this guy. I have a few prunes, a sausage, and some nuts. Should be enough for tomorrow as well. That's like super generous. I think that's what we'll do. Gave away 2 rations. You say so, but you don't know my dearth. He bites into the sausage right away, but after a couple of solid bites, he puts your gifts on an unfolded tunic that's lying on the floor. Without you, I would have run after birds with my ballista, but I'll need to save the bolts for the 8 men, and because of those stinkers, I can't roast here, and raw meat makes me want to puke. Thank you. After a moment of hesitation, he grabs one of the plums. Now, Roadster, he says with a full mouth, if you have questions, ask. I'll say a lot to make you get me out of here. Sharing is always nice, yeah. I should ask him what he wants. Where do you want to travel to now, and what will you give me for my help? This village makes me sick. Tell me about yourself. He gives you a sullen glance. What for? I've no legacy to keep alive in tales. I'm going to tell you this and that after you've taken me out of here. Where do you want to go? Let me explain first. I was in Howler's Dell, the closest village to the east and the north, and people there are nice, you know, not like in old Pagos. They're all boring and grimmer than a crow, but they cry coin for everything, and damn good coin. I left, wanted to look around the ruins, see if there's anything left, then moved to Pelt and hire the hunters to help me here. No luck. A bunch of griffs jumped my pack bird. I just bought it. He spits on the floor, fast and nimble, not brave enough to listen to me when all that screeching and scratching started. You done with that? I can wait. So it ran away with my bags. A few fell on the ground and I pulled them here, but you see how it is. I won't travel around with a tent on my back. He taps the crossbow with his fingers. I need maybe a day more, just a day, and I'll have all the iron scrapped from the barrels so I can move forward. But you can't take all my stuff alone, and without me around, the 8 men are going to break in and steal all my shit. I need to stay here, but since you have a horse, come back tomorrow and help me return to Howler's Dell. How about it? I just need to know that the road is safe. Safe as it can be, I mean. What exactly do you want me to do? I need you to make sure there's no danger hiding in the road from here to Howler's. Or rather, I know there is some danger, but as long as I can get there and safely return, I'm sure we can handle some roaming monsters. He theatrically rubs his hands together. This ballista has hit more beast skulls than I have fingers, and I've never lost a finger, Roadster. Only the toes. Maybe to prove it, he starts to count on his fingers. So see if the road there is clear. Lucidity is here. Great to see you, Lou. Thank you for the 15 months, 5 and 10. Thank you, man. It's very good to see you, man. I hope you're doing all right. Thank you for the resub, dude. Hello, RC. It's nice to see you as well. Hope you're doing all right. Yeah, doing well. Just playing Roadwarden for the first time. It's been pretty interesting. This is definitely my first heavy text-based RPG. Cades. Finger slipped. Thank you, Cades. 15 months. Thank you very much, Cades. Appreciate that, man. RC, cheers for the bits, dude. Thank you, RC. Praise the sub. Then come here tomorrow, we'll pack my stuff on your horse and move out. But don't come when it's close to evening. We're going to need 3 hours on our feet, and I won't push through the night. Even sleeping next to an 8-man tribe is safer, he chuckles. And don't make me wait for too long. I can't wait for a couple of days if I find some food. But if you don't come back, I'll have to risk it no matter what. Why Howler's Dell if you want to go south? We should travel to Pell to the north. I don't work for free. I mean, I see your point, but I've never been there. Can they afford my iron? Do they have means to pay for it? I need coins to find a handy bunch that will walk south with me, and I need a new staff and bolts. I know the village. It's a nice place, and even has a smithy of sorts. I had a chance to take a look, though. It's a large and a safe one. They seem to be rich and have enough hunters to guide you south. You can use iron to barter. Escort the scavenger. Well, it's a shorter path, I guess. Fewer spots to get surrounded by corpsers. If you're sure it's the best option, fine. I'll trust a roadster's judgment. I don't work for free. I have ways to pay you, don't you worry. I can give you dragons, but I'll have to sell the iron first, so I'll need a bit of time, you see. 5 for a short escort would be plenty, I'd say. But if you want, I'll give you a secret jar of mine. A very fine mixture that scares 8-men away. Works on pebblers, too. When you ask if all this stench of urine is somehow related to this potion, he just winks and chuckles. No worries, Lou. Thank you again for the resub. It's good to see you, man. I hope you have a good work lurk. I'd also like to learn more about the villages you visited. Fine, it's a deal. I'm going to escort you. I need to think about it. I'd also like to learn more. You seem surprised. I mean, I'm sure, but I don't have countless connections there, just my eyes. He starts to hum. A longer pause. When you get to Howler's, you'll meet the mayor there, for sure, Thais, and whatever you do, don't ask her where she got her coins from. She's rich, stupid rich, but don't ask her how this happened. Trust me. He scratches his beard with a mournful look. Fine, it's a deal. I'm going to escort you. Thanks, Roadster. Just come tomorrow. I'll make it worth your time. The village makes me sick. Me too. In the guts and the thinker. Gets easier with time if you're patient. Must be the air, the smell of death. Death and ape-man piss. He pats his stomach while laughing. Are you sure there are no undead around? He nods. I've seen none. People say it's been less than 10 years since the herds came here, but don't know if anyone bothered with raising the pyres. If not, the dead are all roaming in the forest now. He clicks his tongue with frustration. It may be that there's a walker somewhere under the debris, waiting to break through like a dragon in an egg. He looks straight at you. You'd better not dig. Have you searched the entire village? Are there no hidden treasures left? You came to the wrong place. Time, moisture, and the damn borers devoured all the loot. I've been here for a couple of days now, and all that's left is this iron I carried here. I was planning to get back here with some hired muscle and clear the collapsed buildings, but I doubt it's worth the time and risk. Do you have any idea what happened here? Well, I won't guess, but I saw many ruins. There's no treasure and skeletons here, so this place means as much as dirt. Someone was barking too loud, so the beasts broke through and made them quiet again. He clicks his tongue, and that's that. Talking about nature's fury brings bad luck, don't you know? I've heard about some bandits. Have you seen any hideouts nearby? Nah, I think they're all north or east. I stuck to the western road, and no shell bothered me. Sorry, can't help you. I'm looking for another Roadwarden, a man known as Asterion. I've never met him. I'll surely heard this name many times. He vanished long before I got to the coast. At first, people were asking about him. Now they think he's dead. Time for me to leave. Thanks for the hype, everybody. Pasture. You don't find a single sign of the livestock that lived here in the past. Any bones, horns, antlers, or dung have already been devoured by the wilderness. The pasture ends at the river, on the opposite bank. The meadow turns into a thick forest, impenetrable for a rider. What are the chances that a herd of defenseless animals could get there and survive? The breach in the southern fence wasn't made by some brute force. You find axe cuts in the spots that were ultimately broken away. After all these years, there are no tracks that you could follow. Southeast part of the village. You find a small backyard. The ground is beaten. The grass grows only right next to the buildings. It would have been a fair spot for training dancers and fighters. The stakes of the palisade are covered with playful carvings left by children who were portraying monsters, weapons, and humans. The rubble has been pushed into the corners of the houses. The furniture is broken, but you find something of use in one of the piles, a slightly rusty piece of steel. Once you pull it out, you realize it's a quarrel for a crossbow, still usable. It won't be difficult to find a use for it. Nice. The closer you are to the village and the longer you stay around, the sicker you feel. The taste of gastric juices hits your mouth, your forehead hurts, and you start to stumble. Nagy, worried by the sight, pokes your head with its nose. I walk far away from the walls. Leaning on your mount, you go outside, keeping your mouth shut. After a few minutes, your eyes get clearer. It may be better to leave, or at least to stay away from the village for the rest of the day. You stop and touch your aching stomach. Where do you want to go? Let's inspect the fields. You're surrounded by what looks like a field plowed in late autumn, disturbed by hundreds of rains and snowfalls. There's a few clumps of grass and wheat, but a place like this one, abandoned for years, should already have turned itself into a green lay. Lea? Lay? I don't know that word. L-E-A. That's our horse. That's our horse's name. Yeah, ideally. A barren field. Maybe it was overused, but you would still expect the weeds to sprout. A curse? The path leading west from here ends at the edge of the field, shifting into a meadow, then a forest. I don't have a way to investigate. What would a spell be here? I use my amulets to sense if there's Numa buried in this place. Let's try that. You unpack the wooden spheres, pleasantly smooth and light. The entire set fits in the palm of your hand. You place them in various spots, marking their positions by sticking a branch in the soil. All you can do now is wait. So you brush Nagy for a bit and make sure the saddle doesn't bother him. When you return to gather your amulets, all of them are much warmer than your skin. The entire field is corrupted, though seeing how there are already some plants growing from it, the spell is fading away. The curse is most likely as old as the last harvest. I walk away. I need these amulets to cool off. So I'm not sure what the benefit of that was. The pain in your stomach slows you down. Where do you want to go? I go to the road leading north from the village. Lee, thank you, Stu. Leeches. A meadow or land that has been sown with seed. Thank you, Stu. A Lee. Grass seed. Cool. Thank you. You're at the closed northern gate. The neglected road is partially overgrown. You hear a river in the east, separated by the lush meadow filled with crickets and rodents. I take a closer look at the gate. Pushed or pulled, it doesn't move an inch. Someone has spread dirt and rocks both underneath it and around it, seemingly to keep the planks stuck in the ground. I head to the river. You see a quenching family of boars, some of them brown, some black. You consider turning back, but they pay you little attention. After a couple of grunts, they run north. The river's not too wide, yet unusually deep, with banks altered by the locals for decades, if not centuries. The water is cold and clean, yet filled with long plants growing from the bottom. You would rather avoid jumping inside or drinking from it, but you're tempted to at least wash your face, neck, and hands. Dozens, if not hundreds, of small fish are looking for tasty leaves, but also try to avoid their predators. A dance of life, completely unaware of your presence. You suddenly realize there's something else buried among the kelp. A rusty sickle sticking out of the ground, a couple of stone axes and hoes. The wooden handles and a large wagon are covered with moss, but you recognize their shape. Why would someone drop them here? On the opposite bank, the meadow turns into a thick forest, impenetrable for a rider. What if I do... I can't use that, okay. I turn back. There we go. I'll spend some time setting up a fish trap at the bank. You place the basket on the ground, then grab a bowl and start digging, looking for a few larger worms. You bait the stick and push it inside the basket, locking it between the sides, then cover the entrance with the lid. Tying it together takes you a few good moments, but it will be easier later on. You attach the entire trap to a bush and push it into the stream, far enough that it sinks entirely. Who knows how long it will take before something large enough swims inside. Still, it would be better not to wait for too long. Otherwise, the prey may die of hunger. That kind of looks like my PNG. Consider washing myself in the river. The living stream filled with fish and plants won't help you much. The oak ash soap you own can help you get cleaner. I won't get any cleaner. I step away. Huh. I guess... travel? I guess we'll push on. You enter the wetlands. With their many streams, ponds, and fish, large birds run and fly between the gray, sparse trees that are covered with moss, mushrooms, and critters. For a human, it may be an unwelcome and harsh realm, but the overwhelming swarms of insects proves that it's a realm full of life. The danger with teeth and claws is hidden below the water's surface. I stay away from the banks. This plant shouldn't be alive, not without leaves. It doesn't resemble the other trees of the wetlands. It's something else. You get off your horse and prepare your axe. The water is filled with dirt and dead plants, and it smells like an old corpse. The roots are spreading far, breaking through the water's surface. You don't see any saurians in the grasses or on the shore. You approach the table-like altar made of 3 limestone slabs. Were these rocks originally as formless as they are now, or was there a point in time, centuries ago, when they were precisely shaped and decorated by masters of artistry? There's no way to tell. It's getting late, but I look for a safe place to sleep. Nagy is peacefully observing the dark grass and slapping flies with his tail. Whatever it is that you feel in the air, it's clear that your companion sees this place through very different eyes. Just the sweetest. I smile and scratch the bottom of his neck. Go ahead, I'll look around for just a moment. There must be a strong spirit hidden in this tree. Maybe I should bring it a gift. You don't see any creatures nor humans. I approach the altar. Swamp altar. There's clumped dirt in the uneven nicks fused by years of winds and rains. The bottom surface of the table is dusty, but you don't find any spiderwebs or mold, even though it's a perfect spot for them. The tree roots cling to the altar in many spots. They're firmly attached. You struggle to move them even by an inch. The cream-colored limestone is cold and smooth. Try to make an offering. What would I... A bottle? Let's try that. Oh. Let's try this. You unpack the wooden spheres, pleasantly smooth and light. The entire set fits in the palm of your hand. You place them in various spots, on the altar, next to the roots beneath it, and a few steps away on the boulder. You begin the ritual, after which all you can do is wait. You go for a walk with Nagy, making sure there are no monsters in your vicinity. When you return to collect your amulets, only the one placed on the rock hasn't changed its temperature. The others are cold. The closer they are to the tree roots, the cooler they are. Almost painfully so. This is not what was supposed to happen. If the objects are filled with magic, the spheres get warmer. If not, they stay in their original state. But this, you've never seen such a reaction. An arrow, maybe? You put the arrow on the altar and its feathers get slightly darker, but after another breath, no more changes occur. You try to repeat this action, but to no avail. Let's try food. Excuse me. You place any type of food you can find in your sacks or on the nearby plants, but none of them seem to make any difference. The rope? Nothing happens. Look into the water. You step cautiously without knowing how deep it gets. You have to consider that a saurian could be camouflaged in the mud, waiting for the victim to get near. Since you don't plan to kneel down and drink, you're hoping to dodge a potential strike. Once you get closer, you start breathing again. While the water is dirty, it's also shallow. You see the vegetation, swimming insects, and even small fish. All of them stay away from the tree roots, which look like a spider web covering the bottom of the pond. Aside from that, you don't see anything that would catch your attention. Take a closer look at the roots. Where are the birds coming from? You kneel in front of one that's lying on the shore. It's brown, covered with hair that resembles that on your arm. When you touch it, it's moist, soft, and warmer than you'd expect. It kind of reminds me of the fountain. A tree that, has hair on it that reacts to you. Do something with it. What do you try to do? Example, kick. Touch? Taste? Either you can't do that, or I don't understand you. Kiss. What? Like I said, the root is soft and doesn't resist your touch. Its smell is not far off from the stench of water from which it sticks out. You feel its warmth, or maybe it's just a trick of your imagination. After a couple of moments, your lips start to itch. Uh-oh. Don't make me say it again. It's getting pretty late. I guess we'll try for this. Oh, maybe we can rest here. It'll be fine. You slow down. Among the shrubs, a small pack of dragonlings is feasting on the carcass of a gray auroch. One of them, with red feathers on its arm, straightens up and gives you a curious glance. Its head tilts left and right, forward and back. It screeches at you, but doesn't move forward, and returns to its meal. You wonder what would happen if you were on foot. Would they let you be satisfied with their prey? Would they let you be satisfied with their prey, or would they run after you? But if so, for what reason? For now, you have enough space to move forward. It stays safe. The powerful jaws break the monster's bones loudly, then bite off and swallow chunks of meat. I ride forward, but I keep my distance and look over my shoulder. The beaten road serves your palfrey well. The forest to your left becomes sparse and brighter, and there are dozens of human-made paths among the fruit-bearing trees. On your right, there's a large pasture with at least a dozen massive mouflons. 2 of them, already sheared, look comically small. Soon after that, you ride alongside vast, flourishing fields filled with rye, still green, preparing itself patiently for the second harvest. The path ends with a massive wooden gate. The stone wall separating you from the glow of lights behind it isn't as tall as the roofs, but you can't imagine climbing to its top. There are pretty much no cracks, no missing bricks, a sign of many hours of labor. especially considering how massive the settlement is, as wide as a city district. The birds and monkeys are now just a distant echo, replaced with the sounds of carts, running, hammers, saws, laughter, and shouts. Finally, maybe I can rest here. A young man is leaning against the closed gate, covered by its shadow. He's young, tanned, and has a short, elegantly trimmed red beard. Beneath the green gambeson he wears an expensive tunic, decorated with colorful trim. From his arm hangs a steel helmet, though the metal is so thin that it's mostly made of wool and leather. He moves into the light and takes on the posture of a disciplined soldier, not a mercenary. He's standing upright with his chin up. There are 2 weapons on the ground, leaning on the wooden beams of the gate, an axe made of steel and a wooden club. He doesn't reach for either. You dismount smoothly, still having some vigor left. Nagy holds his tail high. A narrow path leads north, toward 2 field workers, one with a hoe and one with a pitchfork. They wave to you. You can't see their faces, but their clothes are simple, gray pants and vests made from hemp and wool. I wave back. Why not? They talk for a bit, looking toward you and pointing at your mount, then walk away, disappearing behind the wall's corner. The guard smiles, yet avoids your eyes, and has to clear his throat before he speaks. Welcome, traveler. If you're here to make trouble, Howler's Dell welcomes you. We have the whitest flower there is. When he bows, you realize it's a well-practiced performance. If it's new garments you're looking for, you can order everything you need right here, in all colors, shapes, and sizes. Capes, boots, vests, robes, or if you're yourself a master of the needle, I can assure you we have the fabric you're looking for. His act is over, and he glances at your mount in a moment of silence. His eyes get wider as he observes it with childlike fascination. This is Nagy. He helps me patrol the roads. You can pet his side if you want, but no sudden movements. He follows your instructions even though your palfrey pays no attention to the man's careful touch. The guard grins widely. I'm Leto, your new Roadwarden. I want to see your mayor. A city folk, The mayor is busy, but I'll ask her. Give us a moment to let you in. He knocks at the gate, which is then pulled inward by 2 other guards, a man and a woman wearing their own gambesons, similarly green, but tailor-made to match their figures. The nearby buildings are simple houses made of wooden beams and covered with thatch, while the storehouse is even more modest, with a roof made of planks. The watchtower has a ladder made of ropes and sticks. No stairs. Just give me a moment. The guard strides away before he finishes the last word. The others close the gate behind you and observe your mount carefully. Your eyes run east to a humming creek running through the center of the village. I wait for the return of the messenger. Calming sound, That's Howler's Creek. The guard, like most of the locals, is taller than you, wide but shallow. There's no been any flood in years. Pa told me there used to be no bridges. Neighbors crossed it with their boots in their hands. It is clean like a raindrop, but there are no many fish. We're the cleanest village in the north, her companion chuckles brightly. When the guard returns, he's still alone. She cannot come now. A friend of mine is in labor. The mayor wants to be there when the child arrives, but I was asked to show you the village. I nod. Fine. He approaches the watchtower. 'Tis your mount here will keep the kids away. Most of the neighbors are getting ready to celebrate. Once you're done, he grabs the rope ladder. The view from up there is gorgeous. I climb after him. Even though the ladder swings in all directions, the guard gets to the top quickly, like a monkey climbing up creepers. You, on the other hand, need to stop and wait for the ladder to calm itself. When you join the man on the wooden platform, you're a bit dizzy. He's leaning on the wooden parapet, observing the area with a smile. I look around. See? There's no place like Howler's Dell. The guard points in every direction, giving you no time to contemplate. For the next few minutes, he describes the fields and their crops, the flocks in the pastures, and the shepherds inspecting the fences, the ancient garden of trees and bushes, larger than the village itself, the sunlight dancing on the stream to its own tune. If you were to believe everything he describes, this place has access to everything in abundance. The sweetest honey, the most fragrant bread, the softest wool. And the beer? 'tis excellent. He sounds like a city merchant who's trying to sell an old house. What an annoying kid. Near Havlavan, you could find 5 larger and richer settlements in less than 2 days. No wonder he's so proud. Why wouldn't he be? They've tamed this scrap of land and live in comfort. The islet in the middle connects both parts of the village. According to the man, the northern gate is hardly ever opened, as it leads nowhere now. Near the eastern gate, there's the Ape Ale Inn, where you can find a bed and victuals. And there's the stall where Akakios? I'm not sure. Rewards our work unless we annoy him with pointless talk. He lets out a chuckle. On the opposite side of the creek, there's another white house. It belongs to Bion, the best clothier in the north. The priests live in the southeast near the wall, but they do not talk to strangers. You also hear about the hunter, the cooper, the fisher, the miller, the pie maker lives with his sister, the baker. The smith and her husband, the carpenter, live with their kids. Some of the larger buildings could accommodate 2, maybe even 3 generations at once. There could be more than 100 dwellers here. You consider stopping his speech, but he suddenly points at the islet again. There, see, the mayor's coming, the one wearing purple. You are free to join her, traveler. I nod and climb down. You try to get down quickly, but 2 steps are enough to make you sure that it's a bad idea. You wait for the ladder to find its balance. You're relieved when you touch the ground again. You untie your palfrey and follow the guard. You pass a small pasturage, surrounded by a wooden fence, a few loose chickens, and a tethered boar. The fancier buildings are covered with whitewash coating and surrounded with vegetables, herbs, and flowers. The bridges are wide enough to carry even a wagon, but for Nagy, walking on the wooden beams is far from pleasant. The islet is empty, but you notice an empty stall, painted with the shapes of colorful flowers. I walk over the second bridge. Along the entire path, you notice more and more people, observing you, smiling, or casually greeting you as they're focused on their own tasks. Finally, you reach the main square. A large tree grows in the center, surrounded by dark water, held together by a thin wall, perfect for sitting. But the smell coming from the liquid makes you think of rotten eggs. The plant reminds you of the tree you saw in the south, next to the swamp altar. In the north, you see the Ape Ale Inn. Judging by the tables, stools, and benches outside of it, it's open for guests. The villagers are chatting and dining loudly, and you catch their curious glances. On the side of the dining area, the merchant is arguing with a tall, broad-shouldered worker. An old man is sitting by himself, eating a pie, with a walking stick leaned against a table. A young woman is cleaning the empty mugs in the creek, speaking with a man at least twice her age, maybe her father. I need a spot to tether Nagy. There's a wide wooden roof next to the gate that shelters carts, crates, and sacks. You move your mount next to a donkey, to a beam placed here for this purpose. Without a moment of hesitation, Nagy starts to chew on the nearby haystack. You have some time to make sure it doesn't struggle with your bundles. You return to the inn. I look for the mayor and approach her. Chew the right thing, indeed. So, something we need to remember is that we have our fish trap, and we agreed to help that guy. So that's all stuff to do tomorrow, but we just need to keep that in mind. She's sitting on a chair with a 4-year-old boy on her knees. She's holding his hand gently, showing him how to eat gruel from a bowl. It's not a cheap meal, though. You spot nuts, berries, and milk, and the added honey makes it yellowish. The kid is clean and quiet, and once he notices your arrival, he crams his mouth with a spoonful of oats. Now, love, the mayor titters. Do not get distracted. She rubs the meal off his face. A few more spoons, and you'll go help Papa in the kitchen, She gives you a radiant, though apologetic smile, then turns her attention back to her companion. I observe her more closely. Her long, full-sleeved linen dress must have been dyed once in blue and once in red to achieve its dark, fancy purple, which would draw looks even in Havlavan. From her left shoulder hangs a green woolen cape as thin as a shawl. The brown belt on her waist has a large steel buckle that portrays a running deer with unrealistically large antlers, growing in all directions, like tree branches. Unlike her tribesfolk, she's pale, with powdered and rouged cheeks, and her lips match her outfit, though they're a bit closer to wine red. The thick gray strands in her long blonde hair look more like a fashion choice than a result of aging. Her eyes are the color of her cape, keen and vigorous. She's shorter than most people around, though would still be the tallest woman in most of the northern settlements. While she's around 40, her slim hands add fragility to her appearance. Even though her posture is upright, her legs confidently crossed, and her delicate voice assertive, she makes plenty of gestures, but her shoulders hardly ever move. I wait as long as it takes. After a few more minutes, the boy lets out a gentle cough, and after a pat on the back, the mayor puts him on the ground. "You did a great job, love, but now I need to speak with our guest. Darling," she addresses one of the inn workers, a girl close to 15, "take him to father, will you?" Her tone suddenly gets firmer, leaving no hint of a question or suggestion. "Yes, ma," she responds, but both her hair and her eyes are nothing like those of her brother, and neither of the kids resemble their mother. "So we have a Roadwarden again. Please, sit down." She vaguely shows you the palm of her open hand, letting you pick any place you want. Since I'm her guest, I sit on the bench next to her. I sit on the stool opposite her. I'm here as a trade partner. I'll sit next to her. The flowing water hits silently the rocks and wooden stakes surrounding the aisle, then splits into two stream beds. In Havlavan, the river is surrounded by tall walls protecting the banks from deterioration, and the water is seldom free of dirt. Here, the smell is as fresh as it would be in the woods. The mayor observes your outfit carefully, maintaining a polite, though cool smile. Once your eyes meet, she hardly ever looks away. "I'm sure you're hungry. My husband will bring us something soon." "I appreciate it." "Don't mention it. Hunger makes me peevish, and the day is too nice for that." She taps her chest and looks at a flock of birds that fly above you, loudly heading south. "As we're waiting, be so good as to help me understand something. Even if you're but a mercenary, I cannot imagine a single reason for you to choose this realm for your wardening, not so long after Asterian's disappearance. There's no glory or treasures to find here." Her pale fingers form a tent on her stomach, then clasp, leaving the forefingers pointing at you. "You were sent here by the merchants. They want the peninsula." Friendly, playful, distanced, intimidating, or vulnerable. I suppose friendly. I present Havlavan's interest as an opportunity. You introduce yourself and touch on the more obvious sides of the potential deal with the guild and the city chief, the troops, their pay and the patrols they would establish, the overview of taxes. Trade routes would bring new life to this place. You try to sound warm. It's a win-win. Throughout your speech, the mayor observes you patiently, without interruptions. "I see," she finally responds as she observes your palfrey. She twists her deer buckle left and right. If it was that simple, I'd be eager to applaud, but it never is that simple, is it? Her eyes fill up with melancholy despite her smile. "I appreciate that you're coming with a carrot, not a stick, but when it comes to the guild, there's always a catch." Her accent is almost identical to the one used in the city. "What sort of catch?" "I'm telling you everything I know. I can't ask you to trust me, but I'm not hiding anything. You don't have to trust anyone blindly. The negotiations can satisfy both sides." Even if I were eager to put trust in the words of a stranger, your honesty has nothing to do with the truth, necessarily. It doesn't put me in an easy position, as you can imagine. "Here, listen to this trick I learned about during my studies." She theatrically clears her throat, patting her chest with one hand and covering her mouth with another, then leans forward and rests her elbows, allowing her hands to freely make gestures. "You make a deal with the settlement. Flour and wool in exchange for coins and tools. You send the first traders, and they imply that you're ready to pay more for, let's say, parchment. Months later, you want no more rye. Just the parchment and wool. We cannot butcher any more mouflons, the locals say. Don't worry, you answer. We'll send you a small flock. Just turn one of your fields into pasturage. As she pretends to speak as different characters, her voice comically shifts, and she has no issue switching between accents. I encourage her with a kind smile. She swings her hand above the table. Another year goes by, and while there's more parchment, the village lacks some crops. The tribe needs not just tools and coins, plenty of coins, but also seeds, and the guild is not satisfied. Sending our wagons costs a lot, and there are more highwaymen now. If you want us to come again, you need more mouflons, and to sell us their cheese. And guess what? With a haunting laugh, she straightens up and spreads her arms like someone a third her age. Turns out that the village can't say no anymore. They lack supplies, seeds, and land. They can't refuse. I nod, she's right, and it's better not to say anything stupid. Don't you think the city would see value in keeping you strong, fewer risks for them? I smile. I have no doubt that a smart leader like yourself is going to protect our people from these games. I'm not going to say anything. The pause doesn't linger for long. I see we understand each other. Let's finish the introductions. I'm Thais, one of the keepers of the Ape Ale Inn and the mayor of Howler's Dell. I assume it would be convenient for you to take my answer back to Havlavon. She wonders for a moment. Say, when could we expect the first caravan? After winter. Oh, Stu, thank you, man. Thank you very much for saying so, dude. I appreciate that. And thank you, Ghost. Yeah, I don't think I would have played a game like this if it weren't for Ghost recommending it. So, cheers, NetX. Thank you, Stu. I really appreciate you, dude. It depends on what you sell and what you want in return. Oh, that just gave me... Oh, okay, so we're eating. While the conversation goes on, the food gets served. The refreshing aroma of roasted mutton covered with a thick sauce made of mint, parsley, and honey tempts you to bite in right away. The juices are sinking into the round trencher, a plate made of simple brown bread. There's also a small bowl filled with chopped red radishes and a sliced boiled egg and mug filled with cold buttermilk. It's all brought by a few young people, all of them referring to the mayor as their mother, and in the end, the innkeeper himself shows up to wish you a good meal. He's wearing a clean orange tunic and a not-so-clean apron made of hemp. He politely introduces himself as Eric's, and says, and after confirming you won't get sick from what he prepared, he leaves you and his wife to your conversation. Thais tears the meat into smaller pieces, then eats slowly, often expressing her enjoyment with a hum. Meanwhile, we get to the important stuff. Oh, I agree, Ghost. I feel like it feels so authentic to me when I hear that. I just love that sound. It's like, I'm sure there's synthetic ways to do that, but it just sounds so real to me. Like somebody's really playing an actual instrument. I do too. I know I've talked to some people who hate that sound, like it makes them cringe, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like that's like the best part. I mean, too much of it is obviously enough, or can be, but it just so happens to be there. I love it. Sounds like the nearby ground is fertile. The village would gladly pay its taxes in grain and vegetables with the protection that a squad of soldiers would provide additional protection. With the expectation that a squad of soldiers would provide additional protection. Our youth is strong, she claims proudly, so we don't need your guards on our walls. But a lone road warden won't keep the roads passable. We need fighters, willing to patrol the paths, maybe even the heart of the woods. That's what we'd expect in return. You're not an expert when it comes to linen, cheese, and wool, so the mayor spends a good couple of minutes describing the outstanding quality of what the village has to offer, especially the clothes, which are meant to be as unique as those made by Master Crispus. You vaguely recognize the name of this tailor shoemaker, but you've never earned enough to pay him, as much as a single sleeve. And of course, we will never reject some steel and bronze. We lack alloys for sickles and scythes. She then repeats her question about starting a trade route. Oh, thank you, Lane. Truth be told, the guild is not sure what the peninsula has to offer. It's going to take more than your village to convince them. Understandable, but you won't find much in the other tribes. They have barely enough to survive, even after they trade for our crops. For we have the only decent soil in this realm. At least the people of Gale Rocks have salt and barrels of fish, while Creeks sells meat and wood. Actually, if you haven't been in Creeks yet, the farthest village in the northeast, you could give them a chance. She nods with a smile. They could use your help with keeping their roads safe. White Marshes, on the other hand, as well as Old Pagos, are close to worthless for a trade route, that is. She clears her throat. After these words, she stands up, walks to another table, and offers her trencher to an elderly man who sits there by himself. With a trembling voice, he thanks her and starts to chew on the soggy bread. She sits down, wipes her hand into a clean cloth, adjusts the folds of her cape, and once again crosses her legs. So tell me, Leto, how's Havlavan? I haven't gathered much news since the invasion. Well, hello, Hep. Good to see you, man. Hope you're well. Very nice to have you here. I didn't see your entrance at first. I just saw you answering Stu, and I thought that he just summoned you like that, but... yeah, it's like the Sylvan Esso song. Thank you, Hap. It's really good to see you pop up. Things stay humble but are starting to look brighter. The harbor is full of life and the kids grow strong. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. Not everyone has their own bed, but the new generation is ready to start their own fight. It's far from great. Children who lost their parents during the war have no trade in hand, and there's not enough settlements to send them away. Many people are unable to prosper. Let's stay positive, I guess. I was hoping to hear that. Her smile shines with kindness. I thought they were done for, losing all those ships and getting cut off from so many tribes. I'm surprised the soldiers didn't butcher all the priests and traders to fill their stomachs. It felt so unavoidable that I even came back home, afraid for my life. But I still carry memories of that place, most of them warm. I'm glad the others haven't given up. Her smile fades away and she speaks without looking in your direction, giving you a moment of rest. The first time I crossed the city walls and saw the streets, my soul saw them as if they were made of dragon bones, not stone. All those people, and the noise, and high houses, and this life happening all around me. But after only 2 years, everything collapsed. For the first time in human memory, like a burning dollhouse. She pauses, rests her hands on her stomach, and turns back to you. But don't let me drag you away from your duties. How can I help you, Leto? I'm looking for Asterion. Let's say that. She stares you in the eyes and turns toward Nagy. Is your palfrey a mare? We have 2 jacks and could use some mules. A stallion, it won't give you anything stronger than a hinny. It is, but I need to stay strong and healthy. I'm looking for Asterion. So I've heard. Her eyes wander over the square. That the small donkey bellies bring weak offspring to horses. Her pale fingers reach for her own stomach, and when her eyes return to you, they regain their sharpness. I'd rather avoid long talks about that man. Let him remain as a part of the past spring. Since you're asking about him, I can only assume he was indeed sharing his goal with you. I don't really understand. Previous Roadwarden, he disappeared a couple of months ago under unknown circumstances. The merchants would like to find out what happened to him. Short but broad-shouldered, red hair, beard, pale, wears veil, rides on a 4-legged lizard. According to Tulia, he was a bit of a recluse, constantly on the move, looking for work. Since he disappeared before summer, he may already be dead. His kids live near Havlavan. According to Iason, Asterion was meant to do something for the people of White Marshes and disappeared soon after that. He and the innkeep have made some sort of a deal in which the latter invested and lost 50 dragons. He doesn't think Asterion has stolen them. According to the scavenger I met in a ruined village in the south, people in the northern villages were asking him about Asterion, but after a couple of weeks they dropped the topic. I guess I won't deny that. Yet you're already different from him. I like it when travelers don't try to sell me bluegrass. Seeing your frown, she waves it off. It's just a saying. His words were stronger than his deeds, and he's no longer welcome here. What are his wrongdoings? If you have to know, he failed and won't get a second chance. He was meant to escort Egidia, a daughter of mine, to her betrothed in Gale Rocks. She was a great archeress, and the road from here to the coast is not that dangerous. When they saw goblins on the road, Asterion ordered her to push through, right into their trap. She touches her deer-shaped buckle. They got jumped like a bunch of wealthy pilgrims. A Roadwarden worth their gruel should know better. He can fight with a blade, but my girl, she never had a chance. She sighs and looks at the gate. He disappeared soon after his pitiful attempt at apologizing to me, and we closed our doors behind him, for good. I'll let you know if he ever tries to return. Any ideas where I can look for him? She adjusts her cape with an annoyed shrug. Try asking for him in the north. He spent most of his time between white marshes, Gale Rocks, and creeks. Here, he wasn't that eager to share his plans. Why did you let him leave? He didn't do anything, well, forbidden by our laws. He was simply stupid and cannot be trusted. But this isn't Havlavon. We have no rich folk to dread. We treat each other fairly. Lost in her thoughts, she rubs the neckline of her dress. One good thing I can say about him is that he didn't try to justify his decisions or to avoid the consequences, but I'd rather have him prove first he can do what's asked of him. Did you ever find your daughter? For a few breaths, her green eyes seek something in your face. Her words are careful, yet hesitant. She's with the fogs now. The goblins were after food, so they carried her shell away. One day she's going to charge at her walls, awoken and empty. Even though she was a bit mawkish, her heart was strong and patient. She listened to people, was ready to help them, to cry with them. I could tell you stories, but what for? Let the dead rest. You have quite a big family. She titters weakly. At one point, there were 12 kids living in our house, 9 girls, 3 boys. They come and go as it should be. A few are already with the forest, but most are all grown now, even started with their own families. She looks away at a girl wiping spilled milk with a wet cloth. To be perfectly clear, they aren't exactly our children. It's a custom of our village for the mayor to look after the orphans. Thankfully, Eric's has a big heart, and much more patience than I do. As she speaks, her smile widens. Thanks for the help. I wonder, back in Havlavon, did you spend any time in Backwood Corner? There used to be this dark, dirty alley with muggers working even in daylight. I stayed there with Octavia, the miller, in exchange for doing chores for her. She had this small wooden hut. Since the war, even the soldiers have avoided that street. People say it's home to thugs. You wouldn't recognize it. It's now a respectable street with one of the fanciest inns in the city. It would make you feel like you're in the old days. The Boarhead Inn is almost 50 years old now. There's no... You wouldn't recognize it. It's now a respectable street with one of the fanciest inns in the city, the Apple and the Boar. You describe how a family of Southerners started a large shipyard right next to the alley, working on exotic boats in unusual shapes. Needing hands to work, they offered food and coins to many local thugs, and with time, more light and stalls showed up in the alley. As you describe the new inn, Thais bursts into cheerful laughter. So it's the same family that ran the Boarhead Inn. And to think that I dared to doubt the old lady's endurance. People like her, brave enough to bear the toil of their world, are going to bring salvation to all of us. Oh, Heppers. Cheers, man. Thank you, dude. Yeah, the writing's been really, really great. The world feels pretty immersive and unique, and the music's been just a delight. What would it take to make you consider joining Havlavon? I consider it right now. While she laughs, her eyes remain keen. But if you want me to give you some answers, let's see. She looks up and to the right, theatrically raising her hand to her chin. Some gestures of goodwill would be a great start. Since you're the guild's messenger, I need to know you can be relied on. She gives you a wide, white grin. And that's only the first step, I assume. Of course. Do you even have the power to handle tax negotiations? She scoffs loudly at your head shake. Do enough for my village, and I'll hand you a beautiful signed letter, a list of all the things my neighbors are looking for, as well as what they can give in return. Thank you, Stu, for the gift sub to Heppers. Thank you, Stu. Hep V. Cheers, Stu. Thank you. Your superiors are going to see more than enough to prepare their offer. She rubs her hands. I think that's fair. Looks like we're in agreement. New mundane jobs available in the village. Perfect. One more thing, though. She puts her elbows on the table, leaning closer to you. If you go behind my back, I'm not going to wait for a dagger. I'll end you first. She rests her chin against her open palms, giving you a disarmingly warm smile. I'm sure people already know that we have a new Roadwarden. Maybe ask around to see if anyone needs your help. The more my neighbors trust you and need you, the more willing they'll be to offer you better pay. Well, let's start here. What can I do for you? So kind of you to ask. But before I ask you to run, let's see how you can walk, shall we? Her eyes wander left and right, and she gestures for a nearby guard to move away. He nods, then gestures at a few other souls to follow him. While a few of the locals cast curious looks at you, they turn away as quickly as you notice them. The mayor's shiny green eyes are still locked on you, and her voice is close to a whisper. Since Asterian's disappearance, there's little trade on the roads, and not much news reaches us. Be so kind. Her flirtatious tone distracts you with how obviously fake it is, and help me learn some interesting tales about our neighbors. I smile back at her. You mean the ones that weren't meant to reach you? See, I knew that deep down you're a true sage. She titters and straightens up, adjusting her cape without haste. Do you have something to share? Hep, no worries, man. No, there's never any obligation. I wish I could sub to so many more people than I'm currently able to. Maybe that'll change someday, but for now, we're all friends here. There's no need to worry. So the soldiers who came here in spring were meant to find a good spot for a new outpost. The squad that made camp at the southern crossroads is now nothing more than 2 people. They plan to return to Hoplevant before fall. I wonder if there's any difference. Chill, that's too right. The squad that made camp at the southern crossroads is now nothing more than 2 people. They plan to return to Hoplevant before fall. The soldiers who came here in spring were meant to find a good spot for a new outpost. Let's say that. She smiles widely. You don't say. Knowing that, I'll prepare a few very tempting suggestions for the officials. After she seals her lips, she still lets out a quiet chuckle. I guess we'll say this too. Since they cleared that camp of brigands, they went so quiet I almost forgot about them. She rubs her chin with her thumb. I'm surprised they managed to stay alive till this day. Sending such an inexperienced group here shows that the officials misjudged this land. That's all I have to say. Tell me, how do people dress in the city these days? Is it similar to what we have here? Before the war, the merchants were wearing these really long dresses and robes, way too long for my taste. They got mud stains after every rain, and I see no reason to keep shoes completely hidden. Not anymore. There's always a shortage of fabric. Most people wear tunics like in the old days. For years, there was not enough hemp and wool at hand, so people have started to wear furs again. As far as I can tell, many folks wear headgear. I'm not sure. We'll go with this one, I guess. At least we can hope that if the visitors arrive, we won't stand out much. She laughs, but also adjusts her dress, drawing your attention to its superb quality. And who knows? Maybe our little village here is going to help those unfortunate clothiers. I'm sure we could spare a couple of sheets of fabric. Have you heard of the necromancers in the north? She taps her fingers on the table. Yes, I have. After you ask her to tell you more, she seems to regain her confidence. You mean White Marshes, for sure. I don't know all that much about what's happening there. We avoid their lands if we can. She frowns. I couldn't gossip about it with strangers. We can talk about it on another occasion. We were told not to ask about her wealth, if you recall. Tell me about Howler's Dell. It's what it seems like. The greatest village in the far north. She raises her hand and makes an inviting gesture, though I hope to still improve this and that. She winks at you, but is suddenly interrupted by the pained cry of a little boy who hurt his knee during a fall. As an amused elder tries to calm him down, the mayor shrugs it off and titters, then meets your eyes again. Life's good here. We have what we need, and a lot of what we want, building on top of more than 12 generations of hard work and bravery. She spends a good few minutes telling you about mouflons, wheat, rye, hemp, cheese, and wool, proud of every glimpse of prosperity. Whenever she mentions an artisan, shepherd, or farmer, she doesn't miss a chance to mention how significantly she improved their conditions. She also omits some topics. You hear no tales of songs, ancestors, rituals, or days of prayer. It's like listening to a tax collector. Only at the very end of her speech does she mention the wisdom of the elders, now kept in the teachings of the druids, who help her guide those who trust her. They heal our wounds and our gardens, she explains, but then changes the topic to all the fruit, trees, hares, and nuts in the woods. Once she's done with it, I nod politely. We talk and talk, but I still don't know where you're from, Leto. What's your story? Have you lived in Havlavon your entire life? In a way, I know it as well as any other city folk, but every spring I trained in horsemanship in a nearby village. Only for a bit. I was raised in a small village just nearby and moved to the city after I decided to look for luck as a Roadwarden. My past is already buried. Let's not dig into it. I'll go with that one. I was just about to ask about it. I couldn't imagine someone building a stable and a paddock in a place where you can't squeeze in a single new house. Your accent is very city-like, like that of a merchant. I was in a ruined village south from here. Her tense gaze shifts into an awkward click of her tongue as she leans away from you. I don't even want to think about their tragic fate. No one can negotiate with the wrath of the herds. A long pause. And I better not find you upsetting my neighbors with these sad questions. It was a challenging time for all of us, and a wound we won't forget. What do you think about the scavenger who was here before? He's still alive, she says with distaste. He brought us some news from the north and paid off his debt to us, but he's an idler and a prattler. Drinks, too. The farther away he stays from here, the better. Oh, so she doesn't want him back here. I was in the Pelt to the north. The innkeeper feels uneasy about Glaucia's band. When you mentioned the raids on the northern villages, her eyes narrow. Are you sure? It's the first I've heard of it. Glaucia has been around since years back, but she's not much of a nuisance. I'm just a messenger. He's asking for you to join forces with him. Well, I can't give you my answer. I won't ask our hunters to endanger their lives in the pursuit of some gossip. I could ask around and learn more about this. I don't have time for this. Or should I tell the innkeep that you're not interested in collaboration? I could ask around, learn more about this. She sighs with exaggerated relief. What a splendid idea. There are only 3 villages in the north. White Marshes, farther north by the western road, Gale Rocks by the northern coast, and creeks in the far east. Bring me news from those places, and you will get my answer. I'm paid for passing the message from here to the Pelt to the north. Ask me to ride your entire... No, I can do that. I keep thinking, surely city folk don't just eat wild game, salt fish, and groats. What animals do people breed in the nearby villages? Mostly ibexes. There's a lot of mouflons. It depends. Mostly pond fish and fowl. Whatever people can buy, I guess. I don't eat animals. Oh, Leto, I believe you, but just indulge me. Listening about the city takes me back to the days when my bones were still strong. I guess I don't really know. Ibexes? So just like in the old days. I even saw some of them in the city. They are annoyingly good at climbing under roofs and walls, but more importantly, she adjusts her dress and smiles. It means that more mouflon, cheese, and wool are going to be quite a commodity. saw a weird tree south from here, the one with the altar standing in front of it. She straightens up and raises her chin. You mean Beholder, the guardian spirit of our wetlands. Every fall we bring it our gifts, and in return it provides us with blessed fruit, the flesh of the forest. She stares into your eyes. It's older than the oldest books and the oldest thoughts. The druids help us honor its sleep and show us how to ask for its help. Neither of these rituals, she scoffs, would be of use for you. Do you need any assistance? First, I need to be sure you can handle yourself. Bring me some juicy rumors, won't you? And maybe talk with my neighbors. We could use a few coins or someone with a steady hand. I'm not going to ask her about her money. Thank you for your time. It's getting dark and the inn is loud and crowded. The innkeeper lights up the rush lights, and the workers drink, and the guards are preparing for the night watch. If it wasn't for the presence of the creek and the uncanny lack of beggars, this place would feel like Hovelvaan's marketplace. One of the tables is occupied by a dozen or so kids. None of them looks older than 12, and the youngest one, too dirty to resemble either a boy or a girl, is about 6. They are surrounded by their playthings, a mufflon on wheels, an elegant wooden sword, and a painted board covered with rocks, but they are bored and tired. Even though you only get a glimpse of them, the oldest girl notices your attention. She springs up to her feet and approaches you with a few skips. She's already pretty tall, dressed in a worn, subdued tunic, so long that it looks like a sack. Yeah, it was this tree, and there's an altar at the tree, and we used our amulets, I think they're called, and they're supposed to either get really warm or do nothing, and they got very cold. So it was a reaction we've never seen before. It would be rude to ignore her. I smile and ask what she needs. Yeah, let's not encourage her. I don't want to deal with children right now. I'm busy. It would be rude to ignore her. She puts her hands together and puts on a grimace of playful misery. Master Roadwarden. Hearing such an antiquated salutation makes it difficult for you to hide your smirk. We here, she points at her group, bored. Oh, so bored. She puts the back of her hand on her forehead, letting out a deep sigh. Please, master, tell us a story or two, for each traveler sees with different eyes. The last few words sound like an echo of an old tale. Fine. Make room for me at the table. The children gather around and ask you for a minute for them to gather their friends and siblings. After a bit of chaos, there's 20 young souls sitting closely to one another, on benches, stools, and on the ground. The red-haired twins brought a blanket to lay down on. You have a shorter side of the table all to yourself. The older kids understand your lost look in an instant. They start to hush each other, which causes an even greater amount of noise. But in the end, there are dozens of eyes staring at you with a mixture of boredom and anticipation. I tell them the tale of my ancestors. I tell them about one of my adventures exactly as it happened. I tell them about one of my adventures, though I spice it up with a couple of small lies. I tell them about Hovelvaan, its splendor and mysteries. If anyone has questions, I tell them what I know. Spice it up a little bit. The story takes quite a bit of time and at one point gets a bit cruel. The youngest kid covers their eyes, which doesn't block their hearing in any way. As you get to the end, the tension disappears. The older kids clap for a bit, keeping their dignity intact, while the younger ones start to laugh and argue loudly about the best part of your tale. For some reason, 2 of the girls start to wrestle, pretending to be 2 of the characters that you just portrayed. Seeing this, the adults decide to intervene. You stand up, and the children do the same to show their respect. The girl that had previously talked with you thanks you for your time. I nod and walk away silently. It was my pleasure. I return to my tasks. You're in front of the Ape Ale Inn. We gotta sleep. It's nighttime. Even though the counter stands outdoors, it's not rotten or dirty, and you guess that like the other furniture, it's brought inside every night. Eric's approaches you, and with a smile, and leans on its surface with his fists. Exactly. That's sort of the pun of the stream title. He's portly and even taller than his neighbors. He's got freckles, short gray hair, and an elegant beard. His long woolen orange tunic has a decorative cut right under the neck and loose braids at the edges. How can I help you, traveler? His accent is heavy, nothing like his wife's. He stomps with a heavy boot and looks around as if he's just waiting to get back to his other tasks. His fingers are still dirty from weeding the garden. We could definitely buy some food. I keep them in the hall, smoked mutton, a sack of dried fruits, nuts, biscuits. We eat fresh here and pay with work. Coins are not worth much. When he thinks, his lips move as well. Let's say 1 ring for enough food to fill you for 2 days. And half of on that price would buy you 3, even 4 times as much food. If you're in a mood for spending, I also have something special. Just give me a minute. He goes upstairs and returns with a small wooden box and a hand-long leather sheath. 'Tis a teeth set. You're afraid of what he's going to show you, but when he opens the box, you realize he meant teeth cleaning. See? He points at 3 different compartments. Salt, cloves, and mint. You mix whatever you want here. The 4th holds only a small pestle made of polished stone. And here are the twigs you need. They'll last for months. Seeing you're not convinced, he takes a deep breath. Well, we do not let outsiders bathe in our creek, but give me 2 dragons and I'll ask my kids to get you in shape. You get a tub with soap and rose oil. And I'll wash your clothes in water. I'll cook you something nice, as much as you can eat. Show me the rations first. So I've only got 6 coins. Bath and dinner for 2. A teeth cleaning set for 3. I love it. Let's buy some food because we gave it away. I'll get bath and dinner as well. You don't keep track of time. Easing your soul with warm water and whiffs of oil, you are served fried breaded mushrooms. That sounds awesome. With gravy, a slice of bread, butter, and cheese, and chamomile tisane. I don't know how to say that word. While the youngsters wash your clothes in the stream, after an hour you return to Eric's. Any rumors to share? Rumors? Not really. I have my own things to worry about. Neighbors keep their own company. Better for everyone to seek help from my wife or the forest speakers, not in a mug of ale. So no rumors, but maybe you've heard about someone who may need my help. You say it as if we expect travelers to get here any day now. I'll ask around. Come tomorrow. Have you had any interesting guests recently? I don't know. He scratches his beard. There was one vagabond, but he was not here for long and didn't do much. A timid fellow, talks loudly but is afraid of everything, especially the guards. His face is touched by flames, has a big ballista, so he's talking about the guy at the ruins. He says this word with a strange accent, smirking, and a large bird is his beast of burden. I do not know what to say. He shrugs. He went south. He's most likely gone. I could use a room. Sure thing, he nods. My kids keep it cleaner than you'd find in the city. Just tell me when you're ready. You're wandering through the village. A young man is hanging laundry, humming a melody you've never heard before. 2 red-haired twins are weeding a flower garden. I guess we'll talk a little bit more. Go to the local priests. You head south of the dead tree in the main square. Before you get to the second thatched building, a large man stands up from a bench and gets into your way. He's close to 50, taller than most people you've seen in your life, broad-shouldered. His hair and short beard are brown, matching his elegant woolen robe. A thick club is attached to his right wrist with a leather strap. He left his sandals by his sitting spot. Many want to speak with our guides and teachers, he speaks with a solemn, strong voice, but you're not welcome here. Turn back, stranger. Can I know why? You can, he swings his polished, heavy weapon. You're from the outside and cannot be trusted. The boors and slaves of the United Church would crush us if they had a chance. Before we allow you to spy on us, we need to be sure it is worth it. I'm your new Roadwarden. Are you sure that no soul here needs my assistance? His harsh look softens. We can handle ourselves. If that changes, Elpis will summon you. So be it. You're wandering through the village. A woman and a young boy are sitting on a bench as she shows him how to weave a basket. A couple of older people are gossiping with excitement while they grind grains with millstones. I go to the main square. You approach the inn. It's getting darker, but not much colder. More than a dozen locals are gathered at or by the tables playing dice or other games, drinking, eating supper, or simply chatting. The innkeeper is standing behind his counter, filling mugs with beer or buttermilk, while his daughter is cleaning the tables with a wet cloth, carrying around a bucket of stream water. Thais is standing near the bank, giving commands to a group of armored guards. I guess we'll sleep. There's a lot of noise outside, and you can sense a heavy, unpleasant smell coming from the cauldron. At least the fur is fluffy, and you cover yourself with your blanket. I'm gonna go ahead and just sleep outside because we're running low on coins. Your first sleep ends, but your usual 1-hour break is instantly disrupted by noise. You stand up, walk to the window, and see the reason for the commotion. A group of workers is just outside the inn, drinking and laughing. Eric's the innkeeper is also among them. You could join them, but if you do so, you won't get a good sleep tonight, and after such a long day, you may end up exhausted. I mean, I'm a little worried about our Numa. Ooh, this is an interesting choice. We're well nourished. Our vitality is half, though. I'm just gonna rest. During the time in Havlavan, you learned how to ignore drunken crowds. You can relax and return to your routine. I sharpen my blade and go back to sleep. I think that's probably just a safe. We'll have plenty of time to like. Oh, that didn't help us. If you were at an inn in the morning, you can spend the entire day on resting. How do I fill our vitality? Vitality affects your appearance and your random chance of success. Low vitality stops you from engaging in exhausting activities and increases the chance of dying in combat. You restore vitality by sleeping and resting. So we didn't get any vitality out of sleeping there. It's warm here, but the Mufflon skin allows your back to rest a bit. You wake up a couple of times during the night. The smell of the cooked stew fuels your hunger, and the staff returns to the room once every hour or so to stir the pot. You wake up early, but leave the building to check up on Nagy and give him water from the creek. The innkeeper is sitting near the door from time to time, carrying out another bowl with either stew or gruel. Thais is nowhere to be seen. Yeah, Jill, you're right, but I thought I saw that, I thought I saw that it would give us this. But I don't want to spend the day because that person is waiting for us. Okay, so I tell you what, I think we're going to call it a stream here, my friends. I think that's what we're gonna do. That was a lot of reading.